All right, welcome everyone to another IDRYB Live. It is not the original podcast. You may have seen that this morning. If you didn't, please afterwards, in a new tab, go check that out. Thank you for coming. Today, we are going to be talking about dogs, dog training, dog anything, dog grooming, whatever you have about dogs. I want to talk about dogs. So I'm hoping some people will show up here and give me some comments that I can, respond to. But before we do any of that, I do need to make it crystal clear that anything I say, anything that is said here on this broadcast is a representation only of my views or the people that say them, and do not extend to the company that I work for or that anybody else works for. This is just personal opinions here. So now we got that out of the way. Just want to remind you guys, I am also on Rumble. So if you if you don't like YouTube and you want to say screw you to Susan Wojcicki, then definitely I am. Rumble is a great way to do it. If you guys are on, if you are watching on Facebook or Twitter, do me a huge favor and just hop on over to YouTube for me. It definitely makes a difference. Anything else? So yeah, I mean, I just want to be discussing these things, and I want to get a conversation going that can be ongoing. We don't necessarily, this one is, so yeah, I just dropped the YouTube link in the comments. If you are watching on Twitter or Facebook, please do me a favor and do hop over. Yeah, I think, it's a lot harder to get dog trainers to talk in this type of forum than it is to get authors to talk about their books. If you're not familiar with the channel, I Didn't Read Your Book is the flagship show of what I do. It is a podcast where I talk to authors about their books, which I have not yet read. So that I can act as a surrogate for you so that we can have that conversation and you're not left out. I haven't read the book, and neither have you. So we get to not only know, not only get to talk about the book, but we also get to learn who the author is behind the book. And since that's been going, we just dropped episode 28 or 29 this morning. And it's going really well, and started expanding more and more. Starting to do not just books. We've done a stand-up comedian. Next week, I've got a huge surprise coming for you. So I've done enough episodes now where I feel like you kind of get a feel for what I'm doing and what I'm here for. So if you enjoy it, then just ride with me, and we're gonna have a good time. So today's topic: doggy dogs. So as viewers of the channel will know, I am a professional dog trainer, and that is my dog Morty right behind me. He's 11 years old. I got him when I was in college, actually. Well, I had a, just like any kid, my siblings and I begged our parents for a dog all growing up. And it wasn't until like my sophomore year in high school. We actually did get a dog. We got a little Maltese, but we didn't know anything about training. We didn't know anything. And it sucked not knowing that stuff, because things just arise and you're just like, oh shit, I didn't know that was something that I was supposed to worry about. Little things like, a Maltese is the type of dog that you've got to brush regularly, daily. Otherwise, they'll get matted and it gets very painful. And then if you try to wash them out, that is not how that works. It just makes it tighter. And then you got to go to a groomer with your head held low and have them shave your dog bald. So a lot of that stuff came up, and definitely could have worked through it. But, the fact is, dogs are not for everyone. And apparently my mom is one of those people. And not having a trainer or, the training to know, we, of course, you're going to call as soon as I go live. We didn't have a lot of that stuff and in mind. And so the dog would piss all over the house, and mom didn't like that. And for just about 2 years after we got him, she was fed up, and she's like, we're getting rid of him. So I didn't even get to go off to college before they gave away my dog. And so that definitely, the moment I was able to get my own dog, I got one. I was living on campus at college, and then after my sophomore year, moved off campus into a house. And it just so happened that my girlfriend at the time, her friend had a dog, and their neighbor's dog got into their yard, and and a litter was born. And so again, I find myself with a dog, but not really knowing what to do in terms of training the dog. But this is a small dog, and I was living in a house with a bunch of people, and so there was always somebody home. So it was never a huge deal for me to deal with whatever was going on. The house itself, it was basically like a frat house. So it wasn't, things being clean was not that huge of an issue. And because I lived there for a couple years, I didn't really realize how much I was letting lapse. And I think this is something that comes up often. I will have clients who've just moved and their situation has changed. And whatever the previous situation was, they got into a groove with their dog. But because the dog wasn't trained in that way, then there was nothing transferable. And so now they're in a new environment without any of the same things. And it's like starting over completely. And it can be even more frustrating than just starting from scratch, because when you are starting from scratch, you don't necessarily have any expectations. But when you've been living with a dog for how many years, and this is how this goes, this is how that goes, and whatever, and then you move, then you don't expect your well-behaved dog to start misbehaving. And because you're so far down the line, then it can get pretty bad before you realize you come to the conclusion, oh, okay, I think we need to hire a trainer. So that's exactly what happened with me. I was living in this house, and things were going fine. But then I had moved to a different house with just one friend. It was just me and him. We were in this smaller house, and just by virtue of being older and not partying all the time and stuff, it was a more household type house. And issues of barking, the fact that there weren't as many people around, it was difficult. A lot of stuff got chewed up, a lot of stuff got peed on, and I was, really not. What's going on, Darshan? Always nice to see you. I was not able to, handle what I thought I can handle. Exactly what I was just talking about. Me and Morty, we were doing fine when I was in this big house with a bunch of people around. But as soon as it's just me and him and one other friend, and I got to work, and I got to go to class, and I got to go do this, then it became a much bigger responsibility than I had anticipated. So that's what really got me started down the road of just figuring out how to even train your own dog. And I think that's a somewhat common thing for trainers, is you just start working on your own dog. But then I was going to school for psychology, and it just I didn't not enjoy it. I went all the way through, graduated, and I was doing an internship, but very, very quickly, I was just like, yo, this is too heavy. I'm not the kind of person who can separate this type of stuff from work, and I'm bringing work home, and it's not good. And so it just wasn't for me. And so then for the next few years, I was just kind of just serving tables and just doing whatever, and kind of wasting away. Eventually, well, not eventually, the entire time, my parents were like, get a job, like get a real job, do something with your life. But I was like, what? I don't know. What am I supposed to do? I tried the other podcast, the All Really podcast that I used to run. I tried to do that and see if that would go anywhere. I started trying to teach guitar lessons. That didn't go anywhere. And then it was actually my mom who was like, well, you love dogs. Why don't you become a dog trainer? And I was like, I don't know that I love dogs. I mean, I love my dog, but it's actually a pretty good idea. And when you think about it, the whole psychology thing really plays well into that. Not because humans and dogs are that much alike, although you'd be surprised, but because dog training is just as much about training people as it is about training dogs. And again, that may sound bad in the sense that, you're not training, training people, but the same way you would train someone at work. And so the psychology really does come in handy when it comes to explaining things that I understand, that I know about dogs, I know why this dog's doing that. But that doesn't help anyone unless I can transfer that information, unless I can articulate what I'm thinking, what the dog's thinking to their owner so that they can use that information to improve their lives and how they deal with their dog. So often what I will say, how I start off with virtually every single client, I will say that the easiest thing in the world would be if your dog could speak English and we could just be like, yo, bro, can you pee outside? And like, we don't really like when you jump and your teeth are kind of sharp. Can you not do that? And you'd be like, oh, yeah, my bad. That's cool. Obviously, that would be the easiest thing, but obviously that is not a possible thing. Dogs don't speak English. Don't know if you know that, but they don't. So the next best option is to develop our own language with the dog. Dogs are pattern-seeking animals. It's if you have ever had a dog and you know that your dog knows the word outside or treat or food or dinner or any of these things, or and anything that he knows when this, that, it's because of a pattern. It's because they've seen the cause and the effect, and you can use that to develop an entire language. And I'll often start with the example of clicker training. It's a type of training that a lot of people are familiar with. If you're not, it's just a type of training where you've probably seen it even if you don't know what it's called, but you just have a little thingy, a handheld thingy that clicks. It's just like a metal button. And what you would do is, you ask the dog to sit. As soon as the dog sits, you click and give a treat. And eventually, over time, the same way with the word treat or the word outside, the dog learns, oh, that click is a good thing. And then throughout the training, you can wean off of the treats, so you're not stuck to the treats, by just having loading value into that click. The problem, though, is that if you're training a click, that doesn't really lead itself into a full-fledged language because it's just a one-note sound. So the one-note sound is good for starters, but then you also always have to carry around a little clicker. So, but it is a good philosophy. So what I like to do is to build on that philosophy and use that pattern seeking. And like I said, build a language. So the cornerstone of the language is crucial, and it's cornerstone because it is crucial. And so whatever, you don't have to choose whatever, you're making up your own language. You can use whatever word you like, but you want something short and sweet. And I just find the easiest thing to be the word yes. You want that word to be your dog's favorite word. You want your dog to come running over every time they hear yes. And so that way that stands in the Dr. Evil Genius. That way, when the dog hears the word yes, they know, like, all right, word up, I did something right. And then, opposite that, of course, you need to be able to correct your dog when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it just so happens that the word no is a very flimsy word. It doesn't have any sharp sounds. It's just no. It doesn't have any sharp sounds to it. So it's very easy for the dog to ignore in one ear, out the other. And that can get frustrating because, they'll do what you want while you have a treat in front of you. But when you actually need them to listen while you're out at the park or whatever, then you need them to be able to really listen. And so you want something that cuts through a little more. So that yes is gonna stick with them because it's tied to the treat. But the no, they're gonna ignore that all they can. So you need something harder to ignore. So you want to use something like a or sharp sound. If any of you are watching with your dogs and they didn't react, then put a 1 in the chat. That will get your dog's attention. And it's not even a no that it translates to. You don't even necessarily want it to translate to no, because that can be adversarial. If someone says no, that's not the kind of relationship that you want to really have with your dog. What you really want it to translate to is, oops, that's the wrong behavior, but try something else. And that way it becomes it becomes a little bit more collaborative. And it's like, oh, let's figure this out together. It becomes almost like a game. And that's exactly what you want it to be in the beginning. Because when you're just teaching, sit and stay and leave it and stuff like that, it's easy stuff. There's no, you don't need to increase the difficulty of sit right away. The entire thing is I usually will break it down into 3 separate phases. The first phase is simply the vocabulary phase. So the first thing you need your dog to do if you're going to be developing a brand new language with your dog is have your dog understand what the words in the language mean. So they need to know that yes means a treat is coming. They need to know that sit means I want you to put your butt on the ground. Stay needs to mean that you can't move. They need to understand what does this mean before you can get anywhere, because your dog can be smart as hell, but if they don't know what's being asked of them, then how can you expect them to do that thing? So that's first and foremost. Before you worry about how long can he do this, how far away, and this and that and the other, the first thing you need to do is make sure they get through the vocabulary phase. And once 9 out of 10 times, your dog will do the things that you're asking them to do, not for the treat specifically, but because they are engaged and they know what's going on. Early on, you might see if you don't focus too much on one command and you kind of bounce around a lot in the beginning, which I don't suggest in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I suggest, you work one at a time or 2 at a time at most. But that's in the beginning and we'll get there. So you want to work on sit, yes, sit, yes, sit, yes. Or, if they're not getting it, then sit, sit. And then when they get the sit, yes, good sit. And like, oh, okay, now I got it. So that when they have gone through this phase and they do know all of the words, then you can mix them up. Because what you'll see often is if, Dr. Evil Genius, this is not exactly what you want to do, because what they hear is pretty much like Charlie Brown. And if the dog's barking, then it's like, oh, word, now we're both barking. Cool. Not helpful to anybody. So if your dog doesn't know it, and we're going to keep it somewhat family friendly, if your dog doesn't know what STFU means, then saying it, you could say it loud, you could say it till you're blue in the face, and it won't make a difference. But if you can, even a symbol, if your dog knows what that means, you don't even have to say a word. If your dog knows what it means and then is able to do it, and 3, respects your authority, then that's all you need. And so those are the 3 different phases. The first one being the vocabulary. The second phase, once you know that they understand what is being asked of them, then you can worry about the ability training. You can worry about, okay, I know he knows how to stay. How long can he stay? I know he knows how to leave it, but how big of a treat will he leave it? Or, anything like that. That's when you want to start trying to make it a little trickier, a little bit more fun, a little bit more of getting into that game. And all this time, again, you still do want it to be a game. And so you're going along and you want to be measuring this stuff. So you've got a perfect metric built into dog training, the 3 Ds of dog training. You have distance, distraction, and duration. So if you add any of those to a command or to a situation, then it's going to increase the difficulty for the dog to behave in that situation. Like if you just ask a dog to sit, that's pretty simple, right? But if you ask them to sit for 10 seconds, that's a slightly more difficult. And then 30 seconds would be even more difficult still. Or if you ask them to stay and you slowly back up, that's one thing. But if you ask them to stay and you turn and run in the other direction, that's going to be a much bigger distraction. So they're going to need a much higher ability in order to do that. So first, you just want to check what we would refer to as their behavioral thresholds. Like what's our starting point? Can you sit for 10 seconds just right off the rip? Is that what kind of focus you have? Or are you maybe a little, is your dog a little more rambunctious and you got 3 seconds before your dog's jumping up and like, what's going on? I did sit, what's going on? And so you need to know those things, because if you do have a dog who can focus really well and can sit there and I know what sit means. He said sit, so I'll sit and will sit there for 30 seconds and not move. That's awesome. But you need to know that, because you don't want to then be doing like, okay, now we're going to try a 10-second sit. You're just wasting your time. And then same way, vice versa. If you have a dog that can really only sit for 5 seconds before they're like, wait, what happened? I thought I did it right. Now did I do it wrong? What happened? Where's my treat? Am I supposed to get a treat for that? If that's the kind of dog you have, then try to be like, all right, let's do 25 seconds of sit. Then when you do sit and you're getting past that threshold, you're just setting them up for failure and you're not helping anybody. So knowing what their threshold is important, not only to continually challenge your dog, but also to make sure that you're not, setting your dog up for failure. So that's the long and short of the ability phase. You want to just continue rising in those metrics. You want to get better distraction. Like with leave it, we want to be able to toss a treat across the room and just say leave it and have your dog not go and get that treat. Now, again, if leave it is not, sit is something that's a little bit more natural to a dog. So you can just kind of put a treat in front of their nose and kind of go towards the back of their head and they'll sit just because that's what they normally do. But leave it and some of the other commands aren't necessarily natural behaviors. And so that's why it's so important to make sure they understand what is being asked of them. Even in the whatever exercise itself that you use for the command, even if your dog knows, okay, when he tosses the treat, I'm not supposed to eat it, but doesn't understand that you're not supposed to eat it because I said leave it, not because I threw the treat, not because this is a fun game that we do. No, it's because I said leave it, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. Then that's why you need to specifically take that time in the beginning to make sure they understand what it is you're even saying. Then this is where most dog trainers, not most trainers, let me take that back, where many dog trainers will fail you. They will fail you by leaving you with a dog who can do a bunch of tricks, but is not necessarily an obedient dog. And the difference there is in their respect of your authority. If they don't respect your authority, then you've just got a dog who can do a bunch of tricks, which is cute and cool and fun and nice. And maybe that's all you're interested in. Cool. But that's not obedience. Obedience is not only your dog knowing what the words mean, but knowing what they're supposed to do, understanding that you are the leader of the pack or whatever. That, if dad or mom or whoever says it's not okay, then it's not okay. If mom and dad, whoever says I have to do this, then I have to do this because they feed me, they pet me, they stay with me at night, they keep me alive. And you would think that just doing that stuff on its own would be like, well, don't you respect me because I provide all this stuff for you? You would think that it works that way, but it doesn't. It just doesn't. When you give all of that stuff for free, then a dog feels entitled to eat and have water and have a comfy bed and be out of the elements inside your house because you've brought them there and you didn't ask for anything in return, which is great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's the situation. So your dog is not like, with their wallet out, like, okay, so what do I owe you for this? No, that you took the dog and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. Another analogy I'll use for this is think about, actually, let me get a sip here real quick. I'm figuring I might have some more questions and I'm hoping I'm getting another trainer up here, but we'll see. By the way, if you have not tried, this is not an ad, but if you have not tried the Truly Lemonade, definitely do. White Claw is trash. Anyway, so when you first get your dog, think about it like the difference between let's say you've got a job that you've had for 10 years. Think about the difference between going to work at that job versus your first day on a brand new job. The job you've had for 10 years, it might be a good day, might be a bad day. The girl in accounting might piss you off, but just going into work is a pretty neutral thing. But compare that to the brand new job and just going into work that first time, you're like, okay, who's who, what's what, where's the bathroom, what am I supposed to do, what's going on? It's not until they sit you down and show you that orientation video, welcome to the team. It's not until then that you're like, oh, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do here. Your dog needs the same thing. So when you just bring them into your house, because you understand what you want from them, it's so easy to just project that without explaining that. And especially, I find especially people who don't have kids, like myself, when you've never had to do that before, or same thing with people who only have young kids. When people have older kids, they have an inherent understanding of this, of how to communicate things to someone who is not intellectually on their level. But for everyone else, and even people with kids, it can be very difficult to understand. And a perfect example of this is just walking on the leash. Again, some dogs just naturally will do well on the leash, and they're not going to pull you all over the place. Some dogs have a stronger drive. There's a stronger prey drive, or whatever they're smelling, or they want to smell it, and they're just pulling. And so when you try to just go outside and on the job have your dog learn how to walk on a leash, it's literally on the job learning. And so we're already adding, the dog's inside all day, and that's their base level. Then you're bringing them outside into the world with all these sights and smells and sounds and stuff and this and that. And then in that environment with all those distractions, you're expecting them to learn something brand new. It's very difficult. And so whenever I teach walking on a leash, it always begins inside the house where the dog is already comfortable and it's already a neutral place. You want to just walk back and forth and show them. And, especially because specifically with leash work, you don't want to have a command for walking nicely, right? You just want to slap on the leash, go outside, and your dog knows what to do. You don't want to have to be like, okay, we're going to walk nice this time. No, that you just want walking nice to be the default. And so because of that reason, because you don't want to have a command, you've got to just have it be the default and just start doing it. But like I said, if you're outside, there's going to be so many distractions. The dog's not going to know what the hell you're trying to teach them. And I mean, eventually, of course, if you're doing any of these things on a long enough timeline, eventually your dog will start to figure things out. This isn't to say you cannot own a dog without a dog trainer, because that's not true, especially if you get one of those dogs that are, naturally a little bit calmer and a little bit more willing to follow. There's plenty of people who have had dogs like that, and it was great. But for the most part, you're going to need to show your dog every little step of the way. And so, you walk inside and, oh, good job, good walking. There you go. And it comes with your tone of voice as well. So now, without that, without the yes that specifically marks, yes, you did a very good thing right at that moment. You're getting a treat for that. That's what the yes means. That's what the yes translates to. But then you just have more informal, encouraging language. We're just, oh yeah, good job. There you go. Good boy, good girl. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Who is walking? And that song of your voice will take on its own meaning. And again, it doesn't have to translate directly. It just has to mean, okay, we're up. We're on the right path. And then, they start pulling. Then you change your tone of voice. All right, slow down. Where are you going? Over here. There we go. Good job. And so the way you use your voice is probably more important than the words you are actually speaking. Definitely more important than the words you're speaking. But that is, that's a core part of this idea of building a language so that you can communicate with your dog. So once you get through these first two phases, that's the easy part. That's the easy part. Your dog is going to want to do whatever they can do to get a treat. And again, I'm going to drop this link one more time. If you are watching on Twitter or Facebook, do me a favor and jump on over to YouTube. The link's already in there. I'm going to drop it one more time. Just helps me out. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I got a lot of good stuff here. Only better stuff coming. So that's where you want to start. Phase 1, vocabulary. Yes. Sit, stay, basics. That's where you want to start. Then you want to work with the 3 Ds. Distance, distraction, duration. How far away from you can I be and you still will do the behavior? How much distraction can I put around this, around anything besides me talking to you, giving you the command? Then and duration. How long can you hold this behavior? As you're increasing those, and whoever's watching, please feel free to drop any questions you have. I'm just vamping here as long as I can. I am dying for your questions. So please drop your questions. Those are the first 2 phases. Phase 3 is where it gets difficult. Because at some point, you're going to be doing this stuff and it's going to be all fun and games. And then eventually you're going to start turning up the difficulty. And eventually your dog's going to figure out, like, hold on, wait a minute. This isn't a game. You're trying to control my whole life. And they're right. They're absolutely right. And so understandably, if somebody was trying to take over your whole life based on something that they've been playing a game with you, and you might be a little weary to continue playing that game. So as that continues, then the game or the training continues. They get a little bit weary. Now they're like, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe I don't really feel like doing this right now. You know what? Actually, you keep the treat. I'm good. You keep the treat. And that's where things go left, because it's not really about what they want, is it? It's about what you want. You're the leader. And of course, when we say it's not about what they want, we're not saying they want to be safe. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. They want to be happy. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. They want to be fed. Well, that doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in the moment, whether you want to sit or you don't want to sit, whether you want to bark at the mailman or you want to go to your place. Those are the types of things that you don't get to choose. It's not about what you want. It's about what I said. I'm the leader, and you've got to follow that. And I want to stop and really highlight the fact that I will often come across people who feel like they don't want to be mean to their dogs, which I understand. I don't want you to be mean to your dog either. But setting boundaries and having structure and a routine is the exact opposite of being mean to your dog. Your dog craves that structure. And if you don't provide it, then they're going to be in disarray. And they're not, teenage girls, so they're not going to make a TikTok about it. They're just going to deal with it. But your dog wants that structure. And so you saying no, you saying you have to do the thing that I'm asking you to do right now, is being nice to your dog. The better life that your dog has, then the more things your dog can do, the more you trust your dog, the more places you can bring them, the more friends they'll have, whatever it is. So not wanting to say no to your dog because you want to be nice to them is a nice notion. But just like, I imagine, again, not a parent, but just like with parenting, you can't just tell let your kid do whatever they want all the time. It's not about being nice. That's not the purpose of being a parent. And while that's a little bit closer to the purpose of being a pet owner, it's still not just to just find a dog and just give it whatever it feels like in the moment. That's not going to end well for anybody. When a dog knows that they have you as their leader, then that takes the pressure off of them. So, I mean, that's probably regardless of different behavioral issues, that's probably the thing that I see the most is people who don't have enough structure for their dogs and they want their dog to be better behaved, but they don't necessarily feel like that, putting up these boundaries will help. And they're just wrong. You're wrong. You need to have these boundaries so that your dog understands what parameters in which they can operate. If they don't know where the boundaries are, then they're gonna always be testing those boundaries, and or B, they're always gonna be wondering about where they are. And so they're always gonna be worried about, is this okay? Is this not okay? Am I gonna get yelled at for this? That's not what your dog wants, and that's not what you want for your dog. I mean, unless I'm crazy here, I feel like most people want a life where their dog is what do we got here? Ban feeding sausages to dogs. Thank you, Jimmy Dean. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that dogs are eating stuff that's supposed to be fed to them. So sausage happens to be something that is pretty good for dogs. They happen to like that stuff. Pork is fine. Sorry to say, but that does bring up a good point about rawhide. I see a lot of rawhide, and it was a godsend for any dog owner back in the day. It's cheap as anything, and it'll keep your dog occupied forever. But when you find out that it can cause digestive issues, then you kind of gotta let that one go. And the number one alternative would be all natural bully sticks, and of course, because they're all natural, they're more expensive, but less expensive than surgery to open up your dog and make sure that they live, because they've screwed something up because you gave them something they're not supposed to eat. So any little comment helps, people. I'm here for your questions. I can just keep talking, but I would rather answer your questions. In general, where I was talking about respect is where again, the people feeling like they want to be nice to their dogs, and they want to spoil them. And exactly right, Jimmy Dean. It's really, it has nothing. The problem was Walmart was a great place for rawhide, because rawhide in and of itself is I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a cheap thing to produce. And so you would get a giant bag of like little finger sized rolls. It'd get a giant bag for like $10-20, and like that would last a month for Morty. And everything thank you, Jimmy Dean. Everything I'm saying is species dependent. Nothing that I'm gonna say is gonna apply to every single dog. And some species can, definitely, a bigger dog is going to be less likely to have issues with something like that. But just generally speaking, if you're talking about like chicken bones, for example, that's definitely something that you don't want to give any size dog, because it can splinter, and regardless of the size of the dog, because again, if you think about the variability, you can have a 6-pound dog, or you can have a 300-pound dog. There's going to be differences in there. So what I'm really hoping is some more you pop in and ask me some specific questions, so I'm not just kind of giving my general rigmarole. But until that happens, we're going to keep on trucking. Jimmy Dean, I know you can come up with some real dog questions that the people will appreciate. Things that you've been wondering, things that maybe you never thought about before, but now you're thinking about it like, I wonder if Lutch knows that. I bet you I do. So yes, we were talking about respect and why your dog needs to respect you, and why you beautiful. I always love when Jimmy Dean is here. So when you're using this, and I'm talking about a positive reinforcement approach. The company that I work for is positive reinforcement only. Due to just my own reasons, my own research, I don't necessarily believe that a positive only is the only way to go. I think there's some issues, and there's some dogs where food is just not enough of a motivator. Praise is just not enough of a motivator, or the issue is too serious to leave it up to, hey, if they want this treat. Sometimes you need some things like that. And I would love to be able to, if anybody is dealing with some issues that they are thinking about, should I get a prong collar or this or that? Those are the kinds of questions I would love to hear. But it's at the end of the day, there's a lot of controversy around, positive only versus what we refer to as balanced training, where you would use things like the prong collar and an e-collar. And really, those are the main things. But the idea is that if you can, he's going for the jugular here. All right, let's try it. What do we got? Dog's in a different, what is that word? Dichromatic color spectrum. That doesn't include red. Yes. While he's queuing that up, I wonder if can they still see it? Oh, red? They can see it, but they don't. It's kind of like, if somebody who's colorblind doesn't like, if something's red, they don't not see it. They just see it as a different, a different. It just translates differently. I don't know the biology of it, but like one layer down from that, Jimmy. I don't make me look bad. So respect your dog and respecting your authority. That is probably the most important part of all of it, because especially when you're talking about working with a trainer, if that's not part of what's going on, that I used to go to bed blasting music, and earlier I was talking about when I first got Morty, I was living in what was basically a frat house. They are very adaptive, and that's an important thing about illness and injury, that dogs will just act like everything's fine until they're damn near dying. One time Morty had like a little thorn, not even a little thorn, a big thorn in his like in the webbing of his foot, like between the pads. And like he would like walking on it gingerly. I guess it was like small enough that like he could put his pads down, but like any pressure and it would poke in. So he's walking gingerly on it, and just like just acting like he was fine. And I was like, are you all right, dude? Like, come over. I pull out this thing. And of course he yelps as I pull it out, but he was just like, yeah, that's cool. So you got to be very careful with those things, because just because your dog is not, freaking out and crying doesn't mean there's nothing wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your dog. But so SL, hi, how do you differentiate a good trainer from a bad trainer? Any red flags? Amazing question. Thank you, SL. So Morty agrees. So that's a great question. Red flags for a trainer would definitely be just in general their attitude. And that can mean a number of different things. Because you're working with your your pet, your dog in your home, you want things a certain way. And the way that, even take me for example. Take my wife, please. Even me, like I might have a certain way of doing things, and in your home, you may you may not want to do so. Okay, let's take an example of we've gotten through the vocabulary phase 1. We're working on the ability phase 2. The dog's gotten to that point where they figured out like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a game. You're trying to control me. And then they start pushing back, and they don't want to listen anymore, because they realize it's not a game anymore. And so with positive only, we're not using anything to give them a physical correction. It's just that, and you just get it in their ear over and over and over. So I won't kill you guys with it, but if they won't, let's just say that the command is sit. They won't do sit. All you just get sit, 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 until they're like, all right already, Jesus. So if you have a baby, for example, maybe approaching things that way is not going to be the best way to handle things, because there's going to be times when the dog's doing something and the baby is sleeping, and you can't you can't be making that sound, because then you'll wake up the baby. So going back to what I mean about the attitude is your trainer willing to work with your particulars, whatever they may be? Are they able to only dish out what they know and just, talk like a textbook, or can they take your particular situation and apply broader dog training principles to your specific situation? A good trainer is going to talk more about how to do things than what exactly you want to do. They want to help you to, not everybody is going to have the same communication, build a language approach that I have, but every good trainer is going to want to have some level of communication that is applicable for you. And so again, if it's not something that if there's something that about their program that doesn't work, or there's a particular thing that you're doing that, let's say, you're working with leash work and you don't like how they do the pop corrections, and you're like, oh, that makes you feel uncomfortable. Are they willing to try, be like, okay, well, that's usually how I do things, and it's fine, like, let's go, but I want you to feel comfortable. That's what you want from a trainer, because dog training is really not that hard. It's not that easy either, but it's not that hard. And it's relatively, unless you have a really, really a big problem dog, or a dog who's just been through a lot. And then for the most part, a general, the general approach will work, but it has to be malleable, and you have to be able to, fit it to the situation. Jimmy Dean coming back with a real question this time. So, should you regularly give the dog flea and tick preventer, even if they aren't a problem in the area? Like suburbs with no woods, where I have always been? And the answer to that is yes. Now, am I going to say that if you don't use it, that your dog will definitely get ticks and fleas? You are very welcome, SO. That's what I think it is. I really, 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 really appreciate it. If just because you are not in a heavily wooded area doesn't mean that you are safe, and just because you live in a suburb, did I say that right? You know what I mean. Just because you live in a suburb doesn't mean you're safe, and just because you live in a wooded area doesn't mean that you're SOL. So these things can happen, from like the especially with ticks. Ticks are everywhere. So it doesn't really need to be a heavily wooded area. Like, I'm from the Jersey suburbs, and so there's a lot of wooded areas around, even where there's not people. So I've always been very adamant with it. But for what it costs, and for what it's usually something you do once every 3 months, maybe like $100 for for the year. And I mean, if that's not something that you can deal with, then there's other costs involved, and that's something to think about if you're not willing to pay $100 a year to keep the dog safe. And not only dog, but as Jimmy brings up, we can get bed bugs, fleas. Oh man, one time Morty got fleas, and it was the worst. And what happened? I was not using his flea and tick spray. I was living in an apartment complex where there was a lot of dogs, and I'd never used it before, just because I didn't know any better. He was fine, and he'd gotten a tick here or there, but I'd always catch it and take it off, and never gotten fleas. So I was like, screw it, whatever. I'm not spending $100 just for this crap. And oh boy, did I regret that, because once you get them, you got them. Now, luckily, I moved, but I didn't solve that problem. We just moved. That was it. I bought all the shampoos and sprays and everything after the fact. And I'd spray his whole body. I would, bathe him and spray his whole body, spray all of the furniture, all around the carpet, everything. And everything would be good and quiet for a couple days. And then after a couple days, maybe in the middle of the night, and hear, and then I'd start getting itchy right around my legs, right where I'm like, oh no. And I'd flip him over, and he's got all that black fur, so it's very hard to see. So I'd flip him over on his tummy, and you could just see him, and it's oh, is it 100? Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're getting, and to that point, Frontline and what's the other one? If you know, there's two Frontline and I'm blanking, but whatever, the two main ones are going to be more expensive. And those are tried and true. If you don't want to be looking at, looking all up and down at every little thing, then definitely Frontline is a good way to go. But you definitely can, if you buy in bulk, and if you find the right people, you can definitely get stuff that is talk to your vet. You can get stuff that's cheaper and just as good. And especially that's when if you're living in an area like I do, where there's a few dogs, but there's not a lot of dogs, it's not very wooded, then I don't necessarily need the strongest stuff. Morty doesn't spend a lot of time outside. He's a short-haired dog, all that kind of stuff. So definitely, again, the like I said, I think it, regardless of what type you're getting, it definitely is important to get some. But even so, if it's the one that you're getting is $100 a dose, which will last 3 to 4 months. Again, the food's not any cheaper. There's toys and everything like that. There's plenty more. So Cesar Millan, I will take the words of my boss. And again, I want to just make sure everybody knows that this is not associated with my job. This is my own personal opinion. Everything that's being said. But in this case, I completely agree with the boss when he says that Cesar Millan has great marketing. He is not a bad dog trainer, but he is definitely more of a more of a TV personality than anything else. I think from what I know, he is, it's not like he's not a professional. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I said, for the most part, dog training isn't some super complex thing. And so when it comes to these trainer personalities, it should be that, what we were talking about before, what SL was asking, what a good trainer, and a good trainer versus a bad trainer. It should be those types of things that they are able to change their approach to each dog. And so Cesar Millan's approach is a little bit more static. It seems to me, it seems pretty static. But we also say in dog training, if it works, it works. So I can't hate on that. Thoughts on taking the balls. So I'm going to assume you mean taking like a tennis ball out of their mouth. But and if you don't, then Canine Advantix. Thank you. Jesus Christ. That was killing me. And again, another brilliant point here. Oh, well, that's not what I thought it said. But either way, that's a lot more work, a lot more money than that. But yeah, so if we were talking about taking a ball out of your dog's mouth, if it's not an issue, then it's not an issue. You'll know when it's not an issue because they'll let you do it and whatever. If they are growling and they put up a little bit of a fight, that's where you're like, okay, we need to approach this properly. So the one huge thing with any type of reactivity, meaning, they're reacting to you, whether they're reacting to you walking by their food or anything else they have in their mouth, whether they get reactive just because they're on a leash, which can almost be like I call it the hold me back, bro. The hold me back, bro mentality, because dogs who are leash reactive, not all of them, but sometimes they will, their main issue is that when they are on the leash, they'll go crazy. And it's because they know that they're held back. And then you don't take off the leash, obviously, but when they meet a person or whatever they're barking at, they're calm and quiet, but it's just on the leash. Just, hold me back, bro, hold me back. But either way, whatever the issue is, growling is a good thing. I want to say that one more time after I take this sip. Growling is a good thing. Why? Because it is a warning before a bite. So if you have a dog that's growling, the last thing you want to do is take away the growling, and all you'll be left with is 0 and 100, which is biting. So when it comes to dogs who are reactive, with their toys or their food, then you want to, it comes at, a dog that respects you isn't going to growl at you like that. At least not regularly. Like, there must be something where they, see it. But if they generally respect you, they're not going to be growling at you like that. So this comes back to the idea that, you need to set boundaries so that you can give your dog toys so that they know, then they know that they can play with these things, but that you are the one who bestowed them and can take them away. So you want to just, along with all this other stuff that you would want to be doing, whether you at first, when you first get the dog, or if you've gone through and you're having problems and you want to be working on all of this stuff together. But specifically, it's just about showing that you are not going to be intimidated, and that is not that biting is not allowed. So remember that we're okay with the growling. We're okay with the growling because it is a warning. So, let's say this is your dog, right? And this is you walk up and you can get this close to your dog before, then that's, we talked before about thresholds. So that's as far as you want to go for starting. You want to start, they growl, and you just want to stand there. As long as they don't snap at you or anything, then you can praise them. Now, this is one you don't necessarily want to give a treat for growling. Well, you don't want to, extinguish growling. You also don't want to encourage it. So you just kind of want to show that your growling is not effective. And, at the same time, you want to show that I am not a threat. And those two messages will combine to be like, oh, all right, because the dogs don't growl or bark for no reason. So the question is, what is the dog saying when they're growling? And so understanding that it's just a communicating a warning that, hey, I don't like this. I don't like when you're getting close. I feel like you're going to take my stuff. Then that message can be met with either, I am going to take your stuff, but it's okay because I'm going to give you more, or no, I'm not going to take your stuff. It's your stuff. You're fine. Chill. Either one of those things it needs to be the message. And again, the dog doesn't need to know in any given situation, oh, I'm going to take your stuff now, or don't worry, I'm going to give it back. No, it's just the overall sentiment that I am not somebody that you growl at and bite at for taking your food. I'm literally the hand that feeds. You don't bite the hand that feeds. I'm not sure if you're joking with this one, Jimmy Dean. If he growls at you, you got to bite him in the ear. I've heard a lot of stuff like this in a very serious tone. And it kind of seems like you're joking, but it's not far off from some of the things that I have heard from people. The notion of showing dominance is one that comes up a lot. Like if the dog is getting excited, people will say that you want to hold them down and until they calm down. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because again, it becomes a somewhat of a combative or adversarial thing. And if you can achieve that status of being the leader, of having the respect, without having to go down that road, if you think about your own life and people in your own life, the people who can lead in a benevolent way you'll have more respect for. Now, somebody who has the power to, fire you or something, like they could be a dick and you'll still do what they want because of that. But that's not the same thing as, the guy who is working in such a way that you really want to do your best. Those are two different things. And, you just got to ask yourself, which one do you want to be with your dog? So, like, again, I don't know if that was a joke or if you were serious, but it is a good comment. And while some of these types of things might work, they're more of a band-aid effect, because then, like, it's like it becomes like, oh, all right, you won that one. Then what? Then, oh, okay, I just got to try harder next time. And that's not the sentiment that we want. We don't want to be like, okay, whoever can bite harder wins. No. We're friends here. There's no need to growl. There's no need to bite. We're buddies. We're friends. I'm still the leader, but everything's gonna be fine. So before we move on to that other question, you don't necessarily. That's a good question. So you don't, when you say stop a dog from being excited, you're not going to stop a dog from being excited. What you would do is what we call socialization. So when most people use the word socialization, like just in general English, it's usually talking about socializing. But in dog training, socialization actually translates to the dog's ability to maintain their neutrality with increasing distractions. So the idea that your dog is getting excited at seeing another person, in that moment, the dog's already excited. You can't stop the dog in that moment. The idea is to do stuff so that the next time a new person comes around, the dog is not going to be so excited by that. And so, we would do things like, let's say you live alone and it's people. The dog's reacting to people. So let's say we would do a lesson. You win, buddy. You win. I love that. So let's say that's the situation, that you live alone and your dog is reactive to people. Maybe not even reactive, but just gets excited and just bark, jump, all that stuff. So what you would need is a friend, somebody to come over, ring the doorbell, come inside, hang out, and not pay attention to the dog until they are behaving in a way that comports with what you find acceptable. So, we specifically, we call them attention-seeking behaviors. So whether it's jumping, nipping and biting, barking for attention, all of these things ideally can be extinguished just by ignoring them. Because if we break down the situation of what's happening when a dog gets excited at a person, this thing was off center. All right. What is actually going on? The dog is getting excited because they want attention. And so they're going, oh my God, pet me, talk to me, whatever. That's the barking. And then because they feel entitled to, and this is one I'll use a number of times, but because they feel entitled to dictate the terms of the interaction, then they feel entitled to act out this excitement. So a dog like that isn't going to be necessarily less excited after being trained. They'll just be able to control themselves better in that situation. And so that is a great question, because that is, a good way to see how people aren't necessarily looking at dog training itself in the proper context. There's no magic key phrases. There's no magic tools that will just fix things like that. So if your dog is very excited at something, then you have some work to do to slowly do some type of like exposure therapy, where you're exposing them to higher and higher levels. So like if it's dogs, I have in my car a stuffed husky dog doll thing. and it stands up. I had to make sure I could get one that could stand up and act like it was walking. And sometimes I'll, we'll do a lesson where I'll bring it out and we'll see how close can we get. And your dog, you put your dog in a stay. How close can we get while your dog can hold that stay? And that's the type of, micro fine tuning of the distraction control that your dog is going to need to be able to behave the way you want to behave. It's not about necessarily getting, calming them down from being excited when they're already excited. So Jimmy Dean again says, we make our dog sit on the couch whenever there's a knock or someone coming over. He doesn't get to leave until he's calm, but we don't hold him there. He has that much control at least. That's amazing. That's just exactly what I do with my clients. So I call it the, when we, remember we talked about the 3 phases, the vocabulary phase, the ability training phase, and the respective authority phase. In the beginning, you go to your place is one of the commands that I teach. Like I'll only use 10. I only use come, sit down, stay, leave it, drop it, touch, go to your place, and one more that I'm forgetting. I don't know, but that's all I use. That doesn't mean that, you can't use high five and roll over and stuff like that to train them and to get them to understand this communication thing and to get them to understand that I'm the leader, whenever. But again, I'm not interested in teaching your dog tricks. I'm interested in teaching your dog obedience. So again, this is exactly what I do with clients. So one of the is that the one that I forgot when I said it? Go to your place. I don't remember if I said go to your place, but anyway, go to your place is one of the commands that I teach. So first thing is getting them to understand that when you say go to your place and you point, that you want them to find their bed. Maybe we moved it. Maybe we're at a friend's house. Maybe we're at the beach and they get a little excited. So we just want to have like a home base. So go to your place. They need to, which translates to find where your place is, go sit on it, and look at me. All 3 of those things are included in that command. And so then you start, let's say go to your place and then I'll slowly roll a toy across the floor or something. And we start building and building and building and building. And then we get to the level of somebody at the door, and someone will ring the bell or knock, and dog's going crazy. Now we've got some level of distraction control. So we can use a leave it at the door. We can use a come, a recall if we need, and then go to your place and then stay. And all the time we're using that yes to mark, hey, good job, you've done it, which is really, really important unless you're feeding treats at every little stop, which you don't really want to do past that phase 1 vocabulary phase. So the reward in this situation is getting to see the person, getting pet by the person, getting attention from the person. And the how you earn that is to go to your place and stay there and wait for the person to greet you. That's a great exercise just in general, but especially for people who are if you entertain a lot, people who aren't necessarily comfortable with dogs, or even if you have somebody coming to like work on the pipes or something, and you don't know what's what, and you just want to make sure that there's no issues. This person is ready to sue out of anything. You have a big dog and they jump, and you never know what's going to happen. So having that control over your dog is a part of why you want this language. Another one from SL. How long do people usually sign on for training versus how long do you believe they actually need? Another great question. So this is something that very much depends on the individual. I'm sure we've all seen a range of temperaments in dogs. And so, if you have a small dog with a chill temperament and it has a decent food drive in the sense that they want the treats, but they're not dying for treats, then you're not going to need as long. You might get you could get away with 4 or 5 lessons, and just get some basic stuff, and then be like, okay, this is what you want to do, and then just keep extrapolating with the 3Ds. You just keep extrapolating and keep making it more and more, and then maybe you don't. It also depends on what you where you want to end up. Where you want to end up. If you have a dog that you want to do agility training with, and or you want a service animal or a therapy dog, and of course, you're going to need much more training than somebody who's just got a brand new puppy who's small and chill, like I was just talking about, and they just want, a puppy pal. They just want somebody to hang out with. Like, I don't have very high expectations for Morty, and I know that that's partly my that I was going to say partly, entirely my fault. I started late, not so the sentiment that we had was I made more work for myself if I wanted him to be a perfectly trained dog. Not that it couldn't or can't be done even at this point at 11 years old, but there's a lot of unlearning to do if that's going to be the case. And I've decided personally for my life that he can be a little shit sometimes, but he weighs 15 pounds. He doesn't really do much. The worst he does is get into the garbage, and I don't like when he does it. But it's up to me to move the garbage can before I go to work, and if I forget, then I come home to garbage all over the floor. And because that's the worst of it, then I don't really feel like, especially because I'm training dogs all day, I don't necessarily want to come home and be doing drills with him. I should come home and pass out. But how long is, again, dependent on the starting point and the ending point of your particular dog. So everyone is going to start at a different place, and everybody's going to want to end in a different place. I definitely would say that you want to work with a trainer for at least 3 to 4 weeks. I don't think you can really get much done unless you're doing like every day. And even still, you can really only do so much from one day to the next. So typically you'll have, if you're not doing board and train, where you give people the dog and they board the dog while they're training it. Usually if you have an in-home trainer or you're going to a facility, it's going to be about once a week because you need some time to practice the stuff. Because again, it's not super complex. It's not super complex. It's just a matter of continuing to I forgot what I was saying with that one. Thank you, Jimmy Dean. Good joke. So I'm really hoping my dog trainer friend is almost home, but I don't know. So, I mean, no, I don't. I'm assuming that you're referring to r/anti-work or whatever it was. And I don't know why, because I don't really feel like I resemble that dude at all. But no, I'm good on that. So I'm going to ramble here for another few minutes and see if we can get this other trainer up here, because I would really appreciate, just talking to, she's somebody that I came up with. We're both part of the Animal Behavioral College, the ABC. And part of that certification is doing an internship where you shadow a trainer who's doing some group classes, and then they're doing some solo stuff. And in my internship, I met this girl, Allie, and she is really cool. And then I ended up at Petco after I got my certification. And she also ended up at a different Petco. Actually, I think I may have applied to Petco because she got a job at Petco. And I was like, what? She got a job already? I need to get a job. But we both ended up working for different Petcos. And then I left Petco to go to the job where I am currently. And then I brought her along with me. Jimmy, you should stop caring and Oh man. That is a fact, bro. That is a super fact. Hey, there she is. All right. We were just talking about you. Welcome, Allie. I was just telling everybody, the 4 people here, how we came. Oh, and she's gone. Maybe she saw in the comment. But no, we were both working at Petco. And then I was actually working there. And I had to take a leave of absence. There was a whole big thing. And the day there.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just finished with the session.
Nice, nice. So, yeah, we were. I've been talking for about an hour here, just kind of going through a lot of the basic stuff of like if I was going to do a lesson, like what are most people looking for?
Okay.
So why don't why don't you just tell us about the client you just came from?
So I just came from a client. The dog's name is Albie. He is a 6-month-old Siberian Husky mix. He is fearful towards people. Does go to doggy daycare, so he's good with dogs, but very, very fearful of people for whatever reason. Today we had the husband or the guy's brother come over to work on just being used to people and everything like that, and he did pretty well. I can't deny it. We threw treats at him. He willingly went up to the guy and actually, gave him a couple kisses. So it was successful overall.
Awesome. So yeah, that's very similar and kind of similar, but like the opposite to something that Jimmy Dean brought up here. I'm trying to find it, but we were talking about socialization and dogs being excited. And I was saying, how, well, people will say, oh, your dog's excited. You want to like get on top of them and hold them down until they submit. And like, that's not necessarily what you want to do. And this is the same type of mentality in the sense that, if your dog is scared of people and as opposed to being excited by people, then you don't necessarily want to force your dog to go and interact with people. You want to slowly do it so that they can be exposed to that in a manageable way each time.
Exactly. We were working outside with him, and every time he saw a person, what the goal was instead of barking at the person was, you can look at the person, but then look back at me, and you get something good out of that.
Oh.
It's always, you always want to be the better thing. You always want to be more exciting than whatever it else could be.
Oh, I got to use that. I don't use the look back at me. Like oftentimes when I have somebody who is, or a dog who is fearful of people, then that's I'll make sure to take at least one lesson to go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot where they're they are very happy to have dogs in there. I mean, the people love it. The people who work there love it, and it's a really good environment to expose your dog to not only people, but just new environments, new stimuli, and stuff like that. And you can do it in a controlled way. So yeah, I definitely don't necessarily have the look back at me part of it, and I think I'm going to steal that from you. So already using your words on the stream, Allie. Love it.
I like
so
the
Jimmy
question.
Dean,
General thoughts on pits? Absolutely love pits. They.
Oh, and she froze. Well, we'll see if she comes back. Maybe she's just in a bad area. But I personally love pits. I think they are probably the most over or underrated or over hated. Ooh, underrated, overhated. The oh, she's not. Oh, whatever. She's there. If she comes back, then she'll be back. If not, then whatever. But yeah, I mean that's the quintessential breed for like when people non dog people are thinking of a vicious attack dog, like they think of a pit bull. And I've just found that because it's common for people to, not common, but in the world where of like dog fighting, that's a common breed because of their muscular and other physiological build. I'm gonna tell her, just wait until she gets home. I can keep going. She doesn't need to. And yeah, people just go in on pit bulls, and yeah, they can be dangerous. Any dog can be dangerous. And the strength that they have is definitely a factor into why they're so dangerous. This is also true, but again, they I would say this about I don't know the numbers, but I would say that that's probably the case with most dogs. I would say, let's see, Allie's better with breed stuff than I am. So Jimmy Dean says pits don't attack people as much as they attack other dogs. How do you know how accurate that is?
There we go. Now I'm back.
Yeah, Jimmy is saying pits don't attack people as much as they attack other dogs. I was talking about how they get this reputation for being the angry, mean dog, and that has a lot to do with the fact of their muscular and physiological build as to why people choose that for dog fighting, and then that gets the bad rap out there. Are you familiar with this statistic that they attack dogs more than people?
I've never heard of that personally. I've worked at a doggy daycare myself, so I can tell you firsthand that that's definitely not true. Typically it's actually the breeds that you wouldn't expect are the ones that are more of the pushy. I've noticed pointers are really pushy. I've seen golden retrievers be pushy, labs. The pit bulls, though, they're the sweethearts, truly.
It's so many times. That's what I've found. And let me direct this directly to you, Allie, because you are way better with not just identifying breeds, but knowing the differences between breeds. That's not my strong suit, and it's never been a huge focus for me, just because I feel like, while of course there's certain tendencies that some breeds are more likely to do this, and other breeds are more likely to do that, have a stronger drive for this, but I don't know. I just find that each dog is so unique unto itself that those differences kind of don't even really matter as much as the individual dog. I don't know. What do you think?
Repeat your question. You're very low on my end, but I'm also busy.
Yeah, you can wait. You can wait until you get home. I was saying that it seems like the differences in general across breeds are not as, when it comes down to an individual dog, it's not as important as the differences between your dog and every other dog. So like if you have a pit bull, then it's not so much relevant to you what in general pits do, because your pit might have. Go ahead.
Yeah, but definitely more the way the dog is raised or trained than it's the breed itself. There's so many breed standards out there that, I can look at a dog and that is that breed, and it's wrong. It's like a very good example that I have is that I have Akitas. Akitas are typically known to be aloof. They are very shy of people. They don't care for people. But the Akitas that I have had always liked other dogs, always liked people, never had any issues.
Oh, no.
So, breed standards are not always true.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we are. There we go. I think that was me. I don't know.
Did it cut off when I was telling you about my Akitas?
Yeah, you said you had Akitas and it cut off.
Yeah, so Akitas themselves, they're very aloof. They don't like strangers. They very are much homebodies. They like their family and that's it. But the Akitas that I had, they loved people, they loved other dogs, had never had any issues with that. So, you cannot go by a breed standard. I remember telling my mother when I wanted a Doberman, because that's the breed that I will be getting one day, she goes, Dobermans are mean. And that's when I had to look at her and go, that's not true. That's not entirely true, I should say, because you cannot, each individual dog is different. You can never just base a dog off its breed.
Absolutely. And that's what Jimmy D's saying. Akitas are labeled as aggressive down here. Where are you again, Jimmy D?
No, he's definitely right. They are on the aggressive breed list. If I were to get a house and put on the house that, I need insurance for a dog, if I put down as an Akita, I'm going to get more, I'm going to have it raised. So the same idea with German Shepherd, Chow Chows, Tibetan Mastiffs, Belgians, anything like that, any type of breed that they consider aggressive, it's going to be more expensive,
Absolutely. And so there's two sides of it, and there's the tendencies that the dog's gonna have that are definitely real, but they are tendencies, so they're not guarantees. And then there's how the dog's raised. So the old nature versus nurture. And you can have come on, guy. You can have oh, you know what? There was a good question I think I missed. Hold on, because I'd love to get your thoughts on this one too. Thoughts on the ethics of breeding Frenchies and other pugs and bulldogs. Allie, take it away.
It's funny. I was just discussing this with my client, and I might get some hate out here, but personally, I think the English bulldog should be abolished or mixed with something else, mixed with something that is not pushing its face in, because it's so sad. English bulldogs, their lifespan's only 6 to 6 years because of all the health issues that they have. Honestly, they shouldn't be around, and I love them. I have Frenchies that I do training with. I have other breeds that I've smushed in noses that I love working with, but personally, they're a lot of work.
Yeah, and so I wonder, I couldn't agree more. And it's not, it sounds kind of like, again, mean to say that, but when you think about the fact that we bred these breeds into existence, then it's not like we're just picking on an immutable characteristic of some completely natural breed that's been, or some completely natural species that's been here forever, and just screw that species. No, we took wolves, and then we made it that. And as cute as it is, you're creating a life of hardship, and not necessarily, hardship might be a strong word, but at least comparatively, at least relatively, you're definitely not having the same type of quality of life as a dog that has a normal face.
Exactly. So what do you, for the look, not for the actual personality of the dog, for the traits of the dog. We bred for the look, and that's not how breeding should have been.
So what do you think about people who buy those breeds, the breeds that have these types of issues? Obviously, if nobody was buying them.
I am getting on the parkway and will not be able to hear you. I will hop back on in about 20 minutes.
All right. Thank you for hopping in. I will wait. I'll be here waiting. All right. So yeah, I think to answer my own question, and thank you to Allie for hopping in and saving the day. I definitely there's definitely a not so comfortable reality of where is it? Let me find it. Of the breeds that we're talking about, the English bulldogs, anything with the smushed in face, the reality is that if they exist because people keep buying them, and as cute as the dog is, by buying more, you're creating the demand, or at least what's the word? Reinforcing the fact that the demand is there, which people wouldn't breed these dogs if nobody wanted them. So, I'm not going to judge any individual for having one of these dogs, because it's very, very, very likely that somebody didn't have any idea that this was something negative, and that these dogs suffer and they die early, and they have breathing problems and all that kind of stuff. You may not have known that, and you're just like, oh, cute dog, and then you got it, and then you knew what was up. And the oh man, I think you're right. I think you are right. I will have you know. I will have you know that Morty here is half Chihuahua, and I take offense to this, and I don't know if I can go on. I don't know if I can go on. And actually, no, you're right. He's a little dick sometimes, but yeah, the notion of I think that's the much more uncomfortable part of that conversation is that the supply and demand aspect. People aren't breeding dogs that are not getting bought. That's just what it is. If you're a breeder, and let's say you're breeding 4 different breeds, and every dog of this one breed ends up in a shelter because you can't get rid of it, or you have to have a bunch of them around your house because nobody wants them, or if you only breed Frenchies and nobody wants your dogs, well, then you're going to start breeding another type of dog, and you're just not. And it's not about like, nobody's saying like, hey, we should kill them. That's not at all. And allow me to speak for Allie. That is not what she was saying either. We're not saying we should kill them. That's not at all the argument. It's saying that bringing them into existence in the first place is wrong because of the quality of life. And again, because it's not just like, I can already hear the arguments, somebody comparing it to a child who has some type of developmental disorder or something. It's like, well, yeah, but here's the thing, Jimmy Dean. That's my point. There's a lot of bad breeders that just mill them out. But if nobody's buying them, then they have no reason to mill them out. You know what I mean? And it's not something that happens overnight. But if you are aware of the fact that these dogs, have a much harder life than your average breed, much shorter lifespan, and just in terms of, your own family, dealing with the loss of a pet is, probably not the same as losing your grandma. But I mean, personally, I spend a lot more time with my dog than my grandma. I'm just saying. Just saying. But that's a very interesting aspect of, people taking accountability. And that being said, I am very happy that oftentimes the owners of these breeds are the ones who will be the first to talk about why they shouldn't exist, and why. Oh, you want to come? No, and why like, oh, I got this one, but we shouldn't keep doing this. So what is it that you love about American Bulldogs? I don't disagree. I'm just curious. There's and again, that's somewhat of a question to just keep things going, but it is a legitimate question, because what about this specific breed is so specific to this breed that you like? Is it just the look? Which is, hey, whatever. You like things. We like what we like. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, if you're trying to say these types of dogs do this and they are more likely to that, and then they're this and they're that, then yeah, maybe so on a balance of probabilities. But if you understand, dogs themselves, how dogs think, and how to train dogs, then virtually any dog can be the dog that you want. I mean, Morty is never going to be I don't know. I can't even think of something. Like, he could at 11 years old. I mean, maybe I bet you I could still get him to do some crazy agility stuff, because he's smart. He understands the concept that he can benefit by interpreting what's coming out of my mouth and then doing things for me that will benefit him. It will allow me to trust him more and bring him more places. It will allow me to trust him more and give him more experiences. And he just gets more life to experience when, when he is doing his thing. So I am very scared to do this, but I desperately have to go to the bathroom, but I have a video to show you. So do not go anywhere. I'm going to leave this while I go, and I'm going to piss very quickly, and then I'll be back. Boom. Wait. We going? We there? Boom. All right. So please excuse me while I take care of the business and check out this video. It's actually an unlisted video. The company that I got it from no longer is in existence, but it is a good one.
We're going to be going over reinforcement schedules. But before we get started, we've been working really hard at creating a lot of really good content so that way you guys have all the education and knowledge to be able to understand your dog and train them at home. So if you could go ahead and like, rate, subscribe us here on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram at canine_performance. But anyway, during this video today, like I said, we're going to be going over reinforcement schedules, or a better way to think about it is how you are rewarding your dog. If you are at home and training your dog and you're running into the problem of your dog will only respond to you if you have a food reward in hand, they're not very reliable with their behaviors, they're not very enthusiastic, maybe they'll only do behaviors when you're inside of the house, we are going to be going over the 4 different types of reinforcement schedules. So I'm going to go ahead and get my board and train Doug. We're going to head to downtown Holly Springs, and I'm going to educate you on how to train your dog at home using reinforcement schedules. So as I mentioned, we are going to be going over the different types of reinforcement schedules. There is continuous reinforcement, and then there is partial reinforcement. Within our partial reinforcement schedules, we have 4 different types of partial reinforcement schedules inside of that. So I'm going to go over in depth of each of those different types of reinforcement schedules and how it pertains in training and how you can utilize this at home. Make sure that you stick around until the end of this video, because at the very end, I'm going to share with you the best type of reinforcement schedule to use with your dog at home, so that way you don't have to be reliant on treats and different types of training equipment. Good boy. Good job. All right, guys, so the first reinforcement schedule that I'm going to be going over is a continuous reinforcement schedule. Now, here is the mistake that a lot of owners make when they first start training their dog. And this is why, if you are struggling with only having a treat in hand for your dog to obey different commands, it's because you've used too much of this type of reinforcement schedule, which is our continuous reinforcement schedule. What this means is that every single time that your dog does a behavior, you have always provided a reward. Now, this is very important to use this type of reinforcement schedule, a continuous reinforcement schedule, when you are teaching a behavior. But once your dog understands the behavior and can reliably do that behavior 8 or 9 times out of 10, you need to start using a partial reinforcement schedule. So next, we're going to go over into the 4 different types of partial reinforcement schedules.
So I'm going to take over from there. And so basically, what she's saying is once you have your dog on a schedule of, the treats that they're getting, then you want to change it up. So once, let's say you start with, in the very beginning, you want to load value into the marker word. So you want to be every single time use that yes. You want to give a treat so that the dog can understand, okay, the yes means that a treat is coming. And then you slowly can wean off that. And maybe you start with a chunk of maybe 3 yeses equals 3 yeses equals a treat. And they, you don't want to just completely take the treats away. It's gonna be like, well, what happened? I thought we had a good thing going. I do the thing, you give me the treat, it was working out. Let's go. What happened? But of course, you don't want to be stuck using treats for every little tiny little thing where the dog's gonna be like, you want me to do what? Pay up. That's, a reward, or excuse me, a treat should be a reward and not a bribe. And the difference between a reward and a bribe is that one is earned and one is expected. Did I say that right? I think so. But you know what I mean. You want to stay on the reward side and not be bribing your dog, because then they're still in charge. And remember, we talked about dictating the terms of the interaction. So if you are bribing your dog to do stuff, then they are dictating the terms of the interaction. So the schedules, I will usually just go from a measured schedule, or a measured schedule, starting with just one yes equals one treat, then three, then like 3 to 5, then like 5 to 7, and then we'll go up to 10. And if your dog trusts you enough, we've talked a lot about you trusting your dog. But if your dog trusts you enough that you're not gonna scam them, look at this guy. Come here, boy. Come here. Come here. See, this little bastard. I'm trying to be a professional dog trainer. Kids, right? If you just take the treats away, then you're like, yeah, what happened here? But if you slowly move that up and you get them all the way up to 10 commands, and they're willing to trust, like, okay, I know that when you say sit, it's not just sit, but it's sit, and then that, and then that, and then that, and that. But then I get a treat, right? So I'm going to go along with that because I trust you. Once you have that level of trust, then what you can do is switch to a random treat schedule. And then, because remember, this whole thing is based on the pattern-seeking tendencies of your dog. So at first, your dog is just thinking, oh, every time I hear yes, that means treat. Then we switch up. Oh, every, yes, treat. Maybe they're not counting to 3, but they can conceptualize. You get it up to the point where they can't really, they can't really, like with 3, they're not necessarily going to be counting, but they can get an idea of bop, bop, bop. They can conceive of that. Up by 10, they're not necessarily going to be on top of like, okay, the next one I should get a treat, but they'll have an idea of this is the chunk. Then when you switch to the random schedule, then they're going to try to figure out, okay, what's this new pattern? They always jump it up, but now, okay, we're doing 2 commands and then you get a treat, and then you go 2 more commands and then no treat, and then 2 more commands and then treat, and then 3 commands with a treat, and then 1 command with a treat, and then 3 commands with no treat, and then 5 commands and no treat. And dog's like, what is this pattern? What am I thought it was this, and then it's that. And it's like, I just can't. And eventually they will just, come to the conclusion like, all right, I don't know what the pattern is. All I know is that in order to get the treats, I need to get the yeses. And if I get the then I'm not getting the yeses and I'm not getting the treats. And so and again, I'm just going to ask you guys, if you are watching on Facebook or Twitter, please do hit the link I just dropped and come on over to YouTube and join the party. But yeah, if you since they can't figure out, that what random pattern you're making up, then they're just going to relegate to the next thing, and yeses equals treats, equals no treats, and I like treats. And then as that continues, then it becomes less and 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 less about the treats, and more about avoiding the consequences. I hate that thing. Just whatever you gotta do to keep that out of my life. Okay, you want me to sit and then do down and 5 times in a row? Sure, whatever you want. I don't even care if there's a treat. Just don't me. And that's the same concept for walking on a leash. It's, especially since Morty is not very good on a leash, it's interesting how foreign the idea of how to work on leash work with your dog is for most people. And I only know because I read it in the book, but I was and I was the same way before. But that is surprising, because now that I have read it, the solution is quite simple. And so if you have a large dog, I'm talking, over 70, 75 pounds. Then if they're not naturally good walking on a leash with you, then you're probably not going to be able to get away with anything but a prong collar. You just have to, have, like, if the dog can just drag you down the street, nothing's going to happen. But aside from that, I will not use a prong collar unless I have to. And by that, I mean, the first step is a front clip harness. So most people put on their dogs just a regular collar. Just goes around their neck, not super tight up, but just kind of hanging out there. It's got their tags, whatever, clips on and whatever. So the reason that can lead to a lot of pulling is because when you have just the leash connected to the collar, and then we haven't worked on the leash work yet. We're approaching it now. We go outside and there's all these distractions, all this stuff. And ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's this? And I want to go smell this. I want to go see what that is. So trying to teach when the distraction level is too high is not going to work. So you want to start inside. But the consequence of having the pressure on their neck is lower than the value they see in smelling whatever is ahead. So it's not they can't feel it. They're just making that decision. And because they don't know anything else, it's just like, all right, well, I guess this is what walking is like. You just they don't know any better. So again, that's why you want to start inside, where they're not rushing to smell something and they're just following you around, and you can give them praise while they're walking next to you and not pulling, so that you can set that up. Then when you go outside, then at least they're still going to be super distracted by everything, but at least they'll have a frame of reference for what they're supposed to do. And so you can use a collar, but again, the dogs don't have the same anatomy as us. So like if I had something around my neck, I got my Adam's apple here, my soft, that would, if somebody's pulling that, that would be very painful. But dogs have muscles all around their neck like that. And it still, can block their breathing to some extent. But just by the very fact that they're willing to endure that just for, ooh, that smells good, it doesn't affect them the same way as if we had something around our neck. Then you take into account the fact that most collars, again, aren't up on the neck, but they're lower and looser. That's more like being on the collarbone. And so if you push against your collarbone and you use that same force on your throat, you can see, oh, okay, that's what's going on. That, that's much less uncomfortable. I can push through that much easier if I had a reason to. So then, there's the, your average back clip harness, but that is the same exact thing, except now instead of having the, collar around their neck and having that discomfort, then now it's just strapped to their chest and they don't feel anything. So they can just pull through that. That's what they use for sled dogs. Morty, I can't. Come here. Here, you want this? This is bribing your dog. This is what not to do. Come here. Come on. Come here. Good boy. There you go. That's Morty, everybody. And he's gonna take it and leave. What a bastard. So the key for most dogs on a leash is a front clip harness. What you want is something that's gonna clip right here, so that when they're walking, if you make a correction, if you hold some tension on that, then it's not just going to be here, and it's not just going to be on their back, but it's going to be in the front. So when it's going to break their gait. So they're trying to walk and they can't just walk right through it. And because it's around their chest, there's no discomfort. With a prong collar, it's uncomfortable. It's not going to poke through their skin and like injure them, but it is discomfort. But when it comes to a front clip harness, then you're not really inflicting any discomfort on them. It's just annoying. And so when they're trying to walk and they get popped and they get, you use a nice little pop. Because again, it's very important that the dog understands that it's their responsibility to walk nicely. It's not your responsibility to make sure they're in the spot that you want them, which again can be is something easily overlooked. You know, if your dog is pulling, right, and you just always drag them back into into place, then what your dog is going to think is, oh, okay, this is walking. I just do the thing, and whenever they get tired, they kind of do that thing. That's what your dog is going to think, because that's what always happens. And so if you don't create an area for the dog to have less discomfort, they're just going to accept that's what walking is. So when you use a pop instead of a drag, then the dog can decide to react to individual pop corrections. So if they're pulling ahead, you can pop once and they can decide to continue pulling. So you pop again and they can continue pulling. And again, because we're around their chest, we're not hurting them. We can give them a nice, strong little jerk. And just to be like, hey, slow down. What are you doing? Hey, over this way. Let's go. Keep going. You know, in whatever direction they're pulling. And that is, I think, you know, I said there's no magic tools or magic words, but the Easy Walk or any front clip harness is the closest thing to magic in the realm of dog training that I can think of. And you know, it's not magic, so you're not gonna just necessarily just put it on and fix everything. But I've seen it, so that's the number one thing. Do not do not use a back clip harness. If you're going to use a collar, you got to be real strict with the pop corrections. But the front clip harness is the way to go. And again, if your dog is just too big to the point where physically they can move you more than you can pop them, that's when I would be a little bit more likely to go directly to a training prong collar. Oh, hey man, you do what you got to do, brother. I don't live that life, but if you do, I am not gonna pull you out of it. For anyone just joining, we've been talking about dog stuff. You can ask me whatever you like, and I will do my best to answer it. Allie, a coworker of mine, should be back shortly. She's just driving on her way home from work. Yeah, we're just talking about different dog training stuff. So what do you got, guys? Lay some questions on me. What did you learn anything from the video / me talking about random treat schedules? What else do you want to know? What else can I do for you? It's sad, man. It's sad. You know, I mean, first Will Smith, now Jimmy Dean. I mean, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Dr. Evil Genius said you don't have go on. What is The Walk about? I should create a new podcast called The Walk. Is that this? Going on a walk? And thank you, Dr. Evil Genius. Yeah, I mean, so originally I was saying how like it's one of those things where like once you learn it, it's like, how does everybody not automatically know this? That just dragging your dog around is not teaching them anything. It might get them to do what you want in a given moment. But again, the idea is to teach them what it is that you want from them so that you don't have to continually be telling them what to do. When they figure out that, okay, if I do the wrong thing, then I'm going to get some negative attention. But for the most part, as long as, for the most part, as long as I'm doing the right thing, I'm cool. I'm good. And, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what I got. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say if I don't have more people asking me questions, but this is pretty much it. With walking, it just seems so hard for us. I include myself to conceptualize why a dog is pulling when it's so simple. It's so simple, but without somebody telling you, just like with me, I didn't know any better. And it's not just about the collar. Especially smaller dogs. people will just get one of those retractable leashes. And again, if you have a dog who naturally is not going to be running all over the place and can naturally walk a little better, then you might be fine. But most dogs are not going to. What are you chewing on? Oh, the bone I just gave him. Duh. Yeah, most dogs are not necessarily going to do well on a retractable leash, because the mechanism of the leash itself is, if you would like more space, just pull for it. That's how it works. So if you put in a tool that sends that message, and then you are saying, "Hey, don't pull," yes, of course, there's a different I guess, level of tension between the ball bearing of the thing being released and you pulling. But that's more nuance. You're asking your dog then to understand more nuance than just pop. So thoughts about off-leash training. Mine listens at first, but eventually stops listening, even if I have a good treat in front of his nose. So off-leash training is where it becomes increasingly difficult to stay within the realm of positive only training. I was just talking to a trainer who actually was instrumental, just in his content, was instrumental in the idea behind I Didn't Read Your Book. He wrote a book and he tweets some great, succinct stuff about dog training. And I was like, I was already looking to start a podcast, and I was like, I want to talk to this guy. Like, what can I do with that? And I was like, oh, I didn't read your book. That's a good idea. And finally, this weekend, I got him on the podcast, so that'll be coming out shortly. But we were specifically talking about off-leash training, and that's exactly what is going to happen with treats. The fact is, there's so much in the world that your dog is going to value higher than the treat, that even when you bring in the aspect of the respective authority, you can only ask a dog to overcome distractions that they can overcome and choose. You know what I mean? Like if they can do it, they don't have to do it. Like a dog can ignore you and not be stuck by their instincts to bark at someone, but still choose to do it. But there's a certain level, like with the leave it command. You could take a high value treat and toss it and ask them to leave it, and they might get really good at that. But the point where you're gonna cook up a nicely seasoned steak and toss it on the ground and just say leave it and have your dog not even go for it, is that possible? Of course, yeah, definitely, sure. But that's a different, it's a whole other thing. That's not like, are you listening? That's talking about, yeah, just a different level of ability. So yeah. Like, yeah, treats are great and all. Exactly. That's exactly it. Because you give them treats all the time. This MFer will go and lick the spots that other dogs have. I'm like, why are you licking that? So thoughts on clickers. So I was talking earlier about my personal approach to dog training, and how my purpose in working with anyone, with you, when I work with your dog, is to develop a language. And so a clicker is going to be a distinct sound that your dog can definitely see the pattern and be like, oh, the click, that's a treat. I know what that means. So it's very good in that sense. But because we want our words and our voice to be the, what dictates what's going on, then by starting with something that's not your voice and then trying to transfer that value into your voice, I find more difficult than just starting with a short and sharp word to begin with. The word yes has enough of that it acts as a clicker It serves the exact same purpose, but now you're already priming the dog to, instead of just hear that, that's what people sound like, right? And then they're like, wait a minute, there's actually like meaning behind those sounds. Like I can listen and decipher what those sounds are and use that understanding to get treats for myself. When your dog has that understanding, then they're like, yeah, what are you saying? What are you saying? That you want me to sit and then stay? Got you. All right, cool. That's what you. That's where you want. So going back to the shock collars. I don't have a ton of experience with shock collars, or e-collars as they're commonly referred in the industry, and that's just because there hasn't been many instances where the positive reinforcement like the positive reinforcement takes that I've approached with the positive reinforcement approaches that I've taken, there we go, haven't worked. And as the company I work for is not necessarily for working with problem dogs or problem behaviors. But so a lot of times, we're gonna have more of, oh, I just got a puppy, or oh, my dog barks too much, or that kind of stuff. There's a client that I have right now where they're currently using a citronella collar, which is kind of an in between. And so instead of it being a shock, it's a collar that is meant to, again, serve the same purpose, but it has a little cartridge of the citronella. I don't know if it's oil or what exactly it is. It's a non-toxic spray that smells a little bit bitter. I mean, you know what citronella smells like, and dogs really don't like it. And so it comes with a remote, and you've got the beep and you've got the spray. So it can and just having the spray will be like, oh fuck, what was that? And that can really do a lot. And so I personally haven't really had a big use for e-collars. I think there's one client that I have right now who is it might be a good candidate, but other than that, I just, for the most part, it doesn't feel like, unless you're working with a dog who has more severe issues, then you probably can achieve the same thing without a shock collar. Allie, thoughts on shock collars in general?
If your dog needs them, I definitely say go for it. Find a trainer that knows how to use them. I know that
very good point.
We use citronella collars, which is, the step down from shock collars and everything. I actually do use it on my own dog, Rhiannon, because so we have 3 cats, and one of the cats, she is constantly terrorizing. So I had tried to use the citronella collar on her to see if, spraying her a few times will get her to finally leave the cat alone, And, it worked after 3 sprays, and then, then she eventually would come and lay down by my side. So, it's just find a trainer that knows how to use it, and, that.
Yeah, that's definitely an important part of it. Because like I'm perfectly comfortable saying that if you want to, if you have a dog that has that's experiencing something where you do need an e-collar, then I personally am probably not the best trainer for you, because I haven't used them that much, and I'm comfortable saying that because I know what I'm good at, and that's not really it. So going back to SL's question about what is a good trainer versus a bad trainer, that's another thing. There is knowing your limitations. Let's see if we can pull that up. But any thoughts on that? What is a good trainer versus a bad trainer, and red flags?
In our industry, somebody pointed out to me that, when we walk into a client's house that has claimed that they've had a trainer before us, it's kind of like, what did that last trainer do? What do we have to now fix? But, the one thing that we kind of all fail to realize is that you know, it's not just the trainer's fault, it's also the people's fault, because they're the one who has to work with the dog. You know, so I feel like, you know, a bad trainer would be someone that's bashing other trainers, not, you know, lifting them up, not telling, you know, telling the honest truth. Like, listen, I may not be able to do this, but, you know, here's a trainer that can. You know, people that do pull down, and don't get me wrong, I mean, we've probably all been on TikTok. We've probably all seen TikTok trainers before, and there are some trainers out there that will literally videotape what they're doing to the dog, where, you know, they're forcing a dog into an uncomfortable situation that the dog doesn't want to be in. That's a bad trainer. You know, it kind of makes it clear that you kind of don't really know what you're doing. You know, what's your background, you know. And there are a lot of self-made trainers out there that don't have certifications, that don't have, you know, background in what they're doing. They just basically do it from what they've been doing. So, you know, I think somebody that, you know, has a bit of education that backs, you know, what they're talking about is a good trainer. Bad trainers, I feel they're just kind of doing it because they think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's, you know, in some ways, the fact that, you know, it's there's no barrier to entry. In some ways, it can be a good thing, because, like, you know, if you don't have, you know, you don't need, you know, to go to college and get a 4-year degree to do this. Anybody can just, you know, start doing it, and you know, you don't even I was talking about how you and I came up together through ABC and then Petco. And you know, you can definitely use, whether it's ABC, AKC, any kind of certification. You just got your what is it?
CPDTKA. So
yeah,
so that's basically certified dog trainer, certified professional dog trainer, dog trainer knowledge access. And basically the way that my boss basically told me was that ABC's curriculum is basically like the high school version, and the test that I took was the college version. Granted, I passed the college version, not the high school version, but it's fine. I always do things backwards. Right. You know, I always do things backwards, but, you know, it still shows that I know what I'm talking about. It still shows that, you know, just because you may not pass one thing, but you have the knowledge to back it, doesn't make you a bad trainer. As long as you try your hardest, you try your best with each client, you know, that's all you can do.
Well said. Well said. Again, just bringing up some older questions that you weren't here for, that I'd love to hear your opinion on. How long do people usually sign on for training versus how long do you believe they actually should need? I was saying that, you know, it's very much an individual thing, but it really depends on what is your starting point and what is your you know, hopeful ending point. Yeah. Anything else to expand on that?
So I have met clients that, you know, go in that they only want like a 4 session plan, and it turns out that they actually need much longer than that. That's something that I find a lot of clients do, where they'll sign them for the smaller package and then end up needing more. But it really is basis, you know, case by case, because I've worked with dogs that are really good, and by like the 4th session, even though they have 8 sessions, like I'm basically through with everything, and now it's just kind of repeat and just, you know, exposing them to different things that, you know, would test their boundaries of, you know, how well are you trained? How well can you act in a store? How well can you act in a park? And I've worked with other clients that, you know, they signed on for 3 months and they need an additional 3 months of training. And it's really the people putting in their work, you know, because you know, you probably can even see it when we go to people's houses. We can see, have you worked with the dog or have you not? You know, it's very clear to see when they're not working. And I always tell my clients, just be upfront with me. I really don't care. Just be honest with me. Tell me if I get it. Life gets in the way, you know, and dog training might not be the first thing on your mind, but for some clients that really want it, I've seen amazing things happen, and they put in the work.
And yeah, that's one of the most frustrating things. It's like, bro, I know you didn't, like, if things are exactly the same as they were a week ago, or sometimes more, if I do this, bro, I know what's up. Don't lie to me. I don't care. It's your dog. It's your house. I get paid anyway. It's not that I don't care, but I'm not gonna, like, I'm not your daddy. I'm not gonna be mad at you. Like, you're a client. Like, if you didn't get any further than we were last time, okay, we just got to start where we were. But like, that doesn't help anybody to.
The other thing I always tell my clients too is, message me. You know, if you have a problem during the week,
Yes.
please message me during that week so that I can come up with a game plan by the time, you know, I see you next. Because if you tell me by the time I get there, what am I supposed to do?
Exactly. That's a wonderful point. And again, just pointing it out that anything said here does not reflect the company that we work for. Is our own personal opinions. But yeah, we do in fact work for the same company, and part of that is you know, giving our personal cell phone numbers and personal contact information, which I like, because to your point, I had just moved to Englishtown. So I had one client. I mean, I actually still get a bunch of clients down there anyway. But so I live in Englishtown, and there was a client in Asbury, not too far, you know, maybe 35-minute drive, but far enough. And I walk in the house, and they're like, "Oh, we went to the vet this week, and we found out that our dog is going blind." I'm like, "Okay. I gotta go home and think about that. I don't know what to do here." And like, I mean, you know, there was a number of like weird issues that we kind of weren't really sure what was going on. So, and I mean, that definitely gave some insight, but like, it's not something that was so typical where I could just go in and be like, "Oh, okay, that's what's going on. This is what you do in this situation." So like, I had to just leave and just be like, "All right, I mean, I gotta be honest with you guys. I don't know what to do. I don't want to waste your time. I'll, you know, this won't count. And I'll see you next week when I have a better idea of what to do." And it sucked because I had to drive all that way, and I'm pretty sure that like it was a situation where I had like early clients, and then I had a break, and then it was like just them. I drove down there rush hour. It's like, bro, my day could have been over at 2 p.m.
It could have been done, but no. If you had just messaged me and told me.
Exactly. So Jimmy Dean has an interesting thing to say here. So Dr. Evil Genius, another friend of the channel who is in the chat right now, is a personal trainer. And so he was saying, what was it that? When we were talking about what's a good trainer versus a bad trainer and red flags, he was saying the same things apply in personal training.
Okay.
So now he's saying human personal trainers have an actual risk of liability if they show someone how to lift. I'm going to say that's supposed to say wrongly or
wonkly, like a wonky thing, wonkly.
And you know, yes, that is true in the sense that if your dog bites, if you're my client and your dog bites somebody, like if that's what you come to me for, like you have a reactive dog, and then your dog bites somebody, that's not on me. In the same way that, like, you know, we're working with you on your own body, and then if or you're my trainer working with me on my body, and you tell me to do something, so that's definitely true. But you know, I don't know. That's it's a weird. It's weird that was brought up.
Does that default on the company then? Because technically we're just, you know, paid hired out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah.
Now if we were to get bit though, that's definitely a different story.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was gonna say is, you know, the you know, the maybe I'm getting a little triggered, but you know, we've got the risk of liability might be a lot lower because I don't have you know, that on my shoulders. But I mean, I'm sure you've got plenty of scars, right? I've got you know, I got that one, I got that one. How many of your personal training clients are biting you? So
exactly. Like I personally I've got a autoimmune disease, and the medication that I'm on lowers my immune system. So I have to be extra careful. So when I have dogs jumping on me, leaving me scratches and stuff, I have to make sure that, you know, I'm cleaning them and everything like that, because I could get infected very quickly. You know, so I have so many battle scars just from dogs. And I mean, and it's not even that the dogs were aggressive in that sense. It was just that they're so excited that that their nails were sharp or whatever it was. You know, I've only, you know, knocking on some wood, I've only ever been, you know, nipped at once, you know, and I mean, he got me, but it wasn't like a big thing. I personally have been bit by a dog in my face but, you know, it was definitely a different situation, but, you know, I'm still here. I'm still training, doing my thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I've gotten right. I would have. It would have been in the eye. It was
Ooh.
like, here's maybe you can. I hope you can relate to this. So like, when you got a very jumpy dog, right? You kind of, especially while you're working, you're not necessarily you're not paying attention to the dog because, as we talked about before, we don't want to give attention to attention-seeking behaviors. The jumping, nipping, barking for attention; those are things we want to ignore. So, especially early on in the process, you go into the house, you have a dog that's very jumpy, so you're trying to ignore that. After a few jumps, you kind of get a feel for how high this dog is going to jump, and if they're jumping high enough where they're at your face, then you need to hit them with the shoulder roll or whatever. But you get that distance. This dog was jumping like about that high, that high, that high, that high, and then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I got this, and then all of a sudden, whoom, jumped like an extra foot, and got me. It was a good thing that I closed my eye because it got me like under my eyelid, but. And before we go back to the question, Jimmy Dean, just to tie a bow on this, Dr. Evil Genius, how many of your dogs can sue the pants off you?
I don't think they can technically because we never give a guarantee.
Right. But I think it would be more analogous if we weren't working for a company, if we were individual entities, like if we were our own LLC. I don't know. That's a good point about the liability. And I don't. That wasn't my point. That that the liability isn't greater for a personal trainer than a dog trainer. I was just saying how many of your trainers or how many of your clients are trying to eat you. But to distill down, Jimmy is saying, I guess my question was, should trainers, personal and dog, be licensed in order to train?
I would definitely say so. I think you should, especially if you walk in, people lie. That's one of the biggest issues in our industry too, is that people lie about things just because they want to get away with, oh, my dog, like I have a client that I'm about to see that I got told was a nip, that the dog nipped a guy. But then further on into the conversation, she went, oh yeah, he was bleeding. And, so obviously the dog, it wasn't just a nip, so people, I would get liability stuff just in case, because people do lie about certain things just to kind of soften the blow or just to get you in the door to be like, all right, maybe I can help.
Yeah. I mean, no pun intended. Personally, I don't and have never used a personal trainer, though I very much need one. So I can't really speak to that. But I definitely think that while, you shouldn't live and die by what certification does this person have in dog training, because like you were talking about with the ABC test, that is, that's like high school level. And even with the CP
DTKA,
even with that being college level, if you think about, other industries, then, entry level, college level, that's still very low down on the totem pole. So being an expert in an area, doesn't necessarily correlate in dog training with the letters you have after your name, but showing that you do have, people that showing people that you do have some level of, standardized expertise is something I would look for. So I think you said it well, that it's something to look for. I wouldn't live and die on it.
Like before I got my CPDTKA, I was working at Petco. I was doing training on my own as well. Especially when I left Petco, I was doing training on my own, but, I had the knowledge from Petco, and technically, Petco does certify you, but you don't take that certification with you either. But, I had the knowledge, I had, everything that I was doing. So, you can't essentially discredit me for not knowing what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. It's just, I just didn't have anything backing my name up saying like, oh, I'm full on certified. But yes, I was certified through Petco. I did do the Animal Behavioral School College and did all of that work and just, tripped at the finish line.
So I want to, I'm very curious because because of everything that we're talking about, even though we came up through the same program, we were trained at Petco and we work for the same company. Exactly what we were just saying, how that all that stuff is like entry level.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you do beyond that, you kind of develop just on your own. And
Exactly.
so I'm curious how similar within the same company, how similar is your program to mine? And, without rehashing the whole thing, basically I go in and almost there's a few clients who don't fit this, but for the most part, every client, it starts with, oh, if your dog could speak English and we could just tell them, do this, don't do that, that would be great, but they can't. So let's teach them, let's build our own language, starting with what does yes mean? What does sit mean? What does mean? And then building up on that. You have the vocabulary phase where you want them to know what do these words mean? And you move on to the ability phase where you work with the 3Ds and get them better at that stuff. And then you move over to the respective authority phase to make sure it's not only do you know how to do this or what to do, but that you know that it's your role to do what I say when I say it, and that I'm the leader and all that stuff. So I'm wondering just even down to the specific verbiage, how similar is that to what you do, what you say? Obviously it's similar to what you do, but like,
I mean, I have a student that I work with that has 8 years of training, under his belt already. He really doesn't need this. So if anything, when he comes along with me, I actually have been learning from him, which is very great to see. He's currently doing the ABC schooling. He's CPDT-KA trained. He worked at PetSmart. He worked at Petco. So he's got his thing. And he also worked in another one. And he was kind of the one who goes, there are dog trainers that use good as a marker word, or there are dog trainers that use yes. I use yes. When I go in for that first, session, I like to see what they have. What's their baseline? What are we going to improve from? I'll jump in with the basics and, I'll do a few commands for them to work on over the week. And, I do more of well, you probably do this too, but building blocks, I remember once you told me that you kind of like to throw everything at them and then you just kind of slowly work off of it. I do more here, work on these 3 things this week and we'll build off of that, and then same with idea, when we're working on leash work, I like to do a base walk. I want to see how bad your dog is, no matter what he's doing, if he's pulling, if he's reacting to people, to other dogs, what's that base walk from? What are we going to improve from? So I do all that, and for the most part, they're pretty good. And then usually about halfway through, then I push it out, every 2 weeks that I see them. And usually then I'm we're working outside, no matter how cold it is, unless it's rainy, but I like to really make sure that we're outside working on that. Cause usually by halfway through, the dog should be, for the most part, perfect inside, listening to the commands, listening to, everything that we're asking of them.
Yeah, very well said. So, I mean, I don't know how different that sounds to everybody else, but there's a significant difference in approaches there. But because we both have the the same end goal of just helping these people, with their dogs in general, like I was saying before, just in dog training, if it works, it works. And so, with the idea being, as long as you're not causing any damage along the way and you're ending up where you want to end up, those are the 2 things that matter most. How you get there and what happens in between, again, as long as you're not hurting the dog or causing any kind of long-term problems, that's usually, hello, what's that?
That's Hades. I trained him as well. He gives paw, he speaks on command, he comes, he's very trainable.
Nice. Awesome. So I've been going for about 2.5 hours here. So I'm gonna start to wind down. But before we do that, I would just like to get again, just we've been friends for a while through this, but through our work, and I'm not complaining that I don't get to have to see the boss every day. But I don't think I've seen you since probably Petco, right?
No, we did some training together. When I was first starting out, Michael had me go with you, and that was the last time I saw you.
Yeah. So that was a year.
God, that was last year, actually.
Oh my God, you have no idea how accurate that is. I don't know. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Oh, it
But
really is. I'll say the dogs. Like today, I walked into the dog's house, and I can vaguely remember the owners' names, but I told the dog, I was like, "Hi, Apollo," and then I went, "Oh wait, you're not Apollo. I'm so
yeah,
sorry."
I don't know if you can see like my new recent. I put the dog's name in. Well, maybe I shouldn't be putting people's full last names out there, but not like anybody's
Whoops.
watching. But yeah, so I have the dog name and then in my my date book or planner or whatever the fuck you call it, then yeah, same thing. I just put the dog name and the time and the number of which lesson.
Okay, I do
So
it a little differently. I just put the dog's name and the time, and in my phone I have the owner's first name and the dog as the last name. That's it. I don't really even. I really should, because I know that's a part of our recommendation that we need to start adding last names on. So I'm really bad with that, but for the most part, that's how I do it. And I mean, sometimes I'll literally even go back through like eval papers or any type of papers just before I walk in, just to be like, okay, their names are this. Okay, I got it. But I mean,
yeah,
you get your favorites, you get your memorable ones that, you never forget their names. You never forget, who they are or their
yeah.
dog.
There's it's so funny when like I mean there's not it's funny because there's not really a reason to address the clients themselves by name that often. And I'm already bad with names. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm great with faces. If I saw you, if I hung out with you one time 10 years ago, like if you walk by me, I'll be like, I kind of feel like I know that person. But
Mm-hmm.
you tell me your name and 5 minutes later, I have no idea what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'll go through, a 3-month package with somebody, and other than like literally the email to say, oh, this person signed up, or whatever, then I have no idea what their name is. And I'll more often know their last name because of, when we put the things in the calendar. That's how we get paid. It's on the calendar. And we need the dog's last name. So I'll know the last name much more easily than I'll know anybody's name in the house. If I'm working with more than a couple, forget it. I have no idea what any of your names are.
Mm-hmm. I've got a client that has 3 kids that join, and I'm like, every time I'm like, all right, you're you. I'm blanking on you. I have no idea. But then like the next week I'll be like, oh, I remember your name, but blanket on you.
We got a controversial question here. Dogs or cats? Which are better? And don't you dare say both.
All right. I'll let
Ladies
you answer
first.
this one first. I want to hear your opinion.
Oh, all right. Dogs, obviously. Cats ain't shit.
All right, listen. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Don't you dare.
Cats are better.
I will kick you off this stream.
You should. But hear me out. Okay, just like you guys saw before, my cat Hades, he's my pride and joy. I've trained him to sit, give paw, speak on command, come when called. He is perfect. They don't have to go outside. So I live in an apartment as well. So I don't have to take him outside to go to the bathroom when it's snowing out or raining out or anything like that. So yes, I can train a cat as well as I can train a dog. And no, I have grown up all my life with dogs. So, it's not even like I've had cats. This is my first time ever having cats. Okay.
Nice.
So for me right now, cats are a little better, but don't get me wrong. Rhiannon is still my number 1 in my heart.
That's your Akita, right?
That's my boxer who you met.
Boxer. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom has the Akita.
And what is it? Pandora?
Pandora's my mom's Akita, and I
told you I'm terrible names.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very unique names. That's another thing too, is that so many people call their dogs Bella, and I'm like, please stop.
Right.
Granted, I think I've only ever had 2 Bellas so far.
Yeah, I get a lot of Charlies. I get a lot of I get a lot of Nikos. Like
Really?
whatever it is, it's not even like I thought I would get like a lot of Spot and Fido and like dog names, but so often I just get these and
I get Bo a lot.
You get what is it?
Bo.
I haven't had a Bo.
I've had quite a few Bows. I've had what else have I had a lot of? I've had Charlies, Blues. How about for the girls? What have I had a lot of?
Lulu. There's a lot of Lulus.
I haven't had Lulus.
No. Yeah. So that's definitely, yeah. If you want me to remember your name, clients, then have a more unique dog name. Because if you're just one of the people who has a Charlie,
You're just Charlie.
you're just Charlie. Exactly.
Mhm.
So follow-up question from Jimmy Dean: which is the derpiest breed of dog, and why is it a boxer?
See, I feel like the derpiest breed, it's not a boxer. I think the derpiest is a Boston Terrier, actually. I've worked with quite a few Boston Terriers, and there's not a lot going up there. I like to say there's two types of Boston Terriers. So the Boston Terriers that you go, oh yeah, that's a Boston Terrier. And then the other ones that you go, oh, that's a Boston Terrier.
Now that you say that, one of my, I'm just gonna say I've had a lot of them, and so nobody will know the difference. But there's one particular boxer that was just exactly not a boxer. What breed did you say?
Boston Terrier.
Boston Terrier. It was 100% the second version. Like, oh, yep, that's a Boston Terrier. They have a lot of energy, and it's just like, hold on, wait,
Yep. You know what's funny? You want to know the funniest part? My dog Rhiannon, she is a boxer Boston Terrier. Two breeds of dogs I never wanted mixed into one. So her energy level is here. I have to run her constantly because she is so high energy. But I just, I did the DNA test, and when I found that out, I just laughed to myself because I was like, two breeds of dogs I never wanted ever, because I know how high energy they are. And I'm more of like a laid back, mellow person. The Akitas, they're good. They're very just mellow. They just chill. But no, I had to go for the hyper one.
Yeah, that brings up, how old are your dogs?
They're both 4.
So, Morty being 11, he's getting up there, and I've been thinking about how to deal with the inevitable. Eventually, he's not going to be around anymore. So, the options are to get another dog before he dies. After he dies, get another dog that's older, or get another dog that's younger, or just not.
So I feel like with the puppy, you can really, you can mold them. You can you get through the puppy stage, you mold them, you have them, for that. If you get an older dog, you have to deal with the problems that already come with the older dog, but you're rescuing that dog, you're giving it a good life. Or you can go with the whole not have a dog and not have responsibilities. I got Rhiannon when I was 19. I'm 23 now. She's with me forever now. But, sometimes I wish I didn't get Rhiannon when I did, because, I missed out on a lot of going out because, I had the responsibility of a dog, and don't get me wrong, I love her. She's the best thing ever. But, there are some times that I wish I didn't have to let her out. And there were some times that I wish that I, just didn't have her. Especially when she's going after Ellie. Every time she goes after Ellie, I'm like, I want to murder you. And we all feel that. So I sympathize with my clients when they're like, he's a menace. I'm like, I get it. They're all menaces.
Last night, the past 2 days in Jersey have been, I thought spring was coming, and then it was literally snowing the other day. And last night, it was I usually go to bed pretty early, and I'll go to bed and just be up. And then, so, I'm usually in bed by 9, 10 o'clock if I can be. Obviously if I'm working, then not. But for the most part, and then I'll, chill and just watch TV or be on Discord or whatever. But, once I'm in bed, we're done. That's the day. And more days than not, get everything done, then sit back all right, that's the day. Yeah. And then at maybe half hour after I got into bed, it was probably 10:30 last night, and he jumped down off the bed and he's giving me that look like he needs to go outside. And I literally threw a temper tantrum. No, please. I don't want to go outside, please.
You're fine.
And And so, he's not above shitting on the carpet down here. Okay. And the first couple, he's done it, a handful of times. And the first couple, I've only lived here for a year and a half or so. And the first couple times I heard him coming down the stairs while I was barely awake. And I just hear click, 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 click. And he comes over here, and then he hops back in bed 2 minutes later. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what that was. And then I wake up, and I'm like, oh, God damn it, Morty. And
yep. She's pretty good about it. The only times that she's really ever had accidents was like when we moved, she peed on our bed. It had no sheets on it. It was just on the ground when we literally had just moved. So at 9 o'clock at night, I had to run back to the other apartment to grab the Bissell cleaner so I could clean the mattress before we went to bed. Or if she's just not feeling good, recently we gave her some mango, and then I guess it just didn't sit with her well, and she had liquid diarrhea right before I was about to hop in the shower. And I was like, my girlfriend goes, you need to go clean that up. And I went, okay. But like, other than that, she's pretty good about holding it. You know, when I got her, I had another dog in the house, and they were the ones who kind of showed her the way of, you know, you go to the door to let them know. And when I was also younger, I was lazy. So I would think my mother would open the door in the morning and let her out. She didn't. So Rhiannon would pee at my door. It got to the point where I cut out the carpet and just put like a plastic bag down, and she just eventually learned to hold it. And I mean, now I can, you know, in the morning, if I wake up at 7, take care of the cats, feed her, I don't actually have to she doesn't really show me that she has to go out till I'm ready. So like sometimes I don't even let her out till like 11 a.m. because she's holding it. She knows, and you know, unless she really has to go, she'll bark at me. Other than that, she's just like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing. And that's just because when I was younger, I was lazy and didn't want to let her out, didn't want to get out.
Same exact thing. I mean, to a T, same exact thing. Because like now I'm, if now because I kind of rely on that. Like last night, I probably took him out before I probably got home around 5-6 o'clock, and then I was doing podcast YouTube stuff until when I went to bed at like 10. So I took him out before that, and like if I had gotten into bed at like 8:30, he would have been good for the night. There's no way he would have just gone to sleep and he would have been done. But because we were up later, he was like, "Wait, I need to go.
Let me out, please." Yeah, Rhiannon, it depends. It really depends. So sometimes I could literally put her to bed at like 7 p.m. and she'll be fine till the next morning. And other times at like 10 o'clock at night, she'll start like whimpering at me. And I'm like, please, I don't want to do this.
It definitely can be a tough thing. But, getting back to the original question about cats and dogs, if you remember, before I moved here, I was living in a situation where, like, all right, so story time real quick. So I'm in this place now. There was a place I was living before here, and then we'll just call it the first place. It wasn't the first place that I lived, but we'll just call it the first place. So I'm living in the first place with my boy. Me and him. It was actually a 1-bedroom apartment, but it had a breakfast nook that had a door. So that's just another room. So it was just like, yo, you want to just like live in here and we'll split the rent? So it was basically a 2-bedroom, but it was just a normal 2-bedroom apartment other than that. And we were sharing, and you weren't allowed to have dogs there unless it was service dog. And so I went there for a while. I actually didn't have Morty there, but eventually I got the paperwork and whatever, but they really did not like dogs there. So what I didn't know was that when we renewed the lease, that I had to get a whole new letter. And so they knew that, and they purposely didn't tell me. So they just waited until I lapsed, and they were like, "Oh, you got a dog and you don't have the right paperwork, so you're kicked out." It's like, oh. And so me and and they gave us 1 month. So me and my friend were looking for places to live, and we had a couple places lined up. And then 10 days from the end of the month, he's like, I think I'm just gonna go live back with my parents. I'm like, yo, I need somewhere to live, bro. I was depending on your half of the rent. Like, I can't. And so it completely threw everything out of whack. And I had 10 days to try to find something. I had a couple places lined up, but they fell through. And so I ended up living there's this lady that goes to church with my parents, this old lady who has an extra room in her house that she likes to rent out to young men so that she isn't in her house alone. So that was it was $300 a month, and I meant to stay there for like 2-3 months, save up some money, find a spot that like would be good. I ended up staying there for a fucking year. I was there for a year. My entire life was in this lady's, guest room, and it wasn't a great place to I mean, I definitely would have been amenable if somebody offered. Where were you? But since I had moved point being, she has 2 cats, and maybe like 3 months before I had moved out of there, she had a fall and she was in the hospital. And so, I had to take care of the cats. And, I was working, and then I'm a pretty low key dude. So when I'm home, I'm just chilling. And the cats would just like hang out in her bedroom. So like after like a week or so, I like of just no attention at all, just because like I don't give a fuck about these cats. One night the one came by my room and was just like meowing, and it's like, wow, pay attention to me. It's like, oh, all right, don't fucking come. And so every day, like when I would let Morty out in the fenced in backyard, I let him out and I go pet the cats, and then like that would be their attention for the day. But like, I don't know, like your cat seems cool, but
one does. I currently have actually Persephone here as well. She does not really like being held, she was found on the street. She does sit for treats and does speak on command, so I did train her as well. The third and final cat, she just doesn't really like anybody, so it just really depends on the personality of the said cat,
Well, and that's what it is. It's like when the I don't want to have to work for love from a being that I'm already housing and feeding and this and that. And like, yo, you already owe me. You should already love me.
Well, you would actually be surprised because they do show love in their own ways. Like I said, Percy doesn't really like to be held, but I do hold her. She's freaking out. She's like, I want to leave. I don't want to be here. But she does. She'll like rub up against my leg and, play with me and all that. But she's a good girl. Literally. Look at her. So pretty. She's very pretty.
Cute. She is cute. Yeah.
So we have Hades and Persephone, after the Greek gods. They're married.
Nice. I had a friend who had a pit bull named Hades. I probably told you about him because Hades was like one of those dogs that was like no training and just perfect dog, just to a T. Every little like check the boxes, go down the list.
Those are one in a million dogs. Truly, they're far and few between.
And and Hades was one of those dogs. And he was my friend's brother's dog. So when my friend's brother got engaged and married and moved out, he brought the dog with him. So then my friend wanted his own pit bull, and I warned him. I was like, dude, you gotta understand, Hades was just one of those dogs. The chances of you getting another one of those is very, very low. And with his lifestyle, like you're gonna need a trainer. Like, and he just didn't listen. And fast forward a couple months, and he's like constantly like screaming at the dog and like feels like he's gotta hit the dog. And I'm like, bro, it's like, no, bro, this is how you gotta do it with a pit bull. You don't understand. Like, but it's like, people pay me thousands of dollars for this shit, right? Like, I do know what I'm talking about. But
you gotta love those people. We come across them too. They hire us for training, and then they either undermine everything we say, or just they always have an answer for something. And it's like, then why'd you hire me?
Exactly. So I wasn't aware of this. The popular misportrayal of Hades being a perpetual bad guy. I always thought that what is my extent of knowledge of Hades? I did think that was appropriate. Are you more or less familiar with?
Of course I am. I did all my research about it.
Educate us.
He's not the god of death per se. He just kind of holds the souls. He also, people worshipped him for money, for wealth. That's what he does. Sure, he did something shitty, especially the way that he took Persephone down. Do you know that story?
I don't.
So Persephone is his niece. Because it's all incestual in Greek god.
Of course. Yeah.
But Persephone is his niece, and basically he went to Zeus and said, I want a wife. I want Persephone. But unfortunately, her mother, I'm blanking on her name, she controls the seasons. So what Hades basically did was he basically kidnapped Persephone and, you know, tricked her into eating a pomegranate. That's why Persephone's always seen with a pomegranate. Now, technically, if you were to eat something down in Hades' domain, you were stuck there. You're trapped there. So when he tricked her to eating the pomegranate, she was trapped there. So what her mother did was decided, instead of, you know, having the nourishment of crops and sunlight and warmth and everything, that's where winter and fall came from. So Hades, so after a while, the people went to Zeus and said, we can't live like this. We need something back. You know, we need her to be happy again. So Zeus went down to Hades and basically said, listen, we need to change this. We have to figure out something. So basically, they made a deal where Persephone was allowed to go back to her mother for 6 months out of the year and back down to Hades for 6 months of the year. And that's why we have fall and winter, because her mother gets so depressed. So she does not allow anything to grow and gets cold. And then once Persephone goes back, that's when we have spring and summer, when everything thrives.
Wow. I knew none of that. Look at that. Allie dropping knowledge bombs.
Always.
Awesome. Yeah,
always.
I figured.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of research on Greek gods. I mean, I have Medusa tattooed to me as well.
Oh, nice.
You know, Medusa is widely you know, blamed, or more so, you know, they think that she's evil. She's not evil. She's actually.
No, I thought she turned.
She turns men to stone, but she can't hurt women.
That sounds pretty shitty to me.
Well, it's shitty that Poseidon raped her in Athena's. So Poseidon raped her in Athena's temple, and Athena. What a lot of people said, Athena cursed her. If anything, she saved her because, you know, she turned her into the gargoyle that we've seen today, and basically said that no woman will ever be able to be hurt by her because they're not allowed in her cave. You know, and actually on a lot of shelters, like women's safe shelters, they have Medusa painted because it's protecting them, you know, from the domestic abuse. You know, so it was actually a gift from Athena rather than a curse. But Romans don't like Athena, so they twisted it so that it was Athena that was the bad one.
Okay. I wonder would they put on battered male shelters if there was more than one. But
I wonder.
A whole different conversation.
Well, that's not dog training, is it?
I gotta slip it in there somehow. So Jimmy Dean here. Most of the Greek gods weren't actually evil, just drunk when they had their brilliant ideas.
You're not wrong.
I'm learning a lot. I thought I was here to teach you guys. I'm learning a lot. I'm with it. All right. So before we go, I would just like to tie a bow on you know, just the whole thing that we're doing here. You know, today was the first of many. I don't know. Hopefully Allie will be back in the future, but I definitely will be here. I'm going to try to do this, you know, like once a month, somewhere around there. And I think, you know, especially if people are tuning in regularly, then we can have more advanced conversations and start talking about things more in depth. And you know, it's extremely hard to find dog trainers who are willing to talk about this stuff. And I didn't think that would be the case, but apparently the you know, the wokeness has gotten everyone scared to even talk about dog training. I guess it makes sense because Karens are pretty uppity about their dogs. But
of course, and also dog trainers, they just don't want to reveal the secrets. They want to make people pay for them. You know.
Yeah.
Pay for the knowledge I have, which I get. That's really kind of the business that we're in. You need, you know, but
well, I'm so good. I've been talking for 2.5 hours. I got plenty for you to still pay for.
Exactly. Because we can always tell you the things, but it's so much different when you actually have someone showing you that actually knows what they're doing.
Exactly. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Jimmy Dean. Thank you, Darshan, for popping in. Thank you, SL, for your questions. Dr. Evil Genius, you already know you are always welcome here. And a special thanks to Allie for coming in and helping with this stream. Do you have any social media, stuff like that you'd like to plug?
Of course. So I have an Instagram. It's called Dog Training Tales. The last part is spelled like a dog's tail because I'm a very punny person. I am located in the Middlesex County. So if you are in that area and you're looking for dog training, please feel free to hit me up. I would be more than happy to travel to you. And thank you for having me, Adam.
You trying to advertise from the same company on my platform? No.
Yeah, but no, I'm in a whole different county than you. So like,
Well,
I might as well get those people.
But I thought you moved further south. No.
No, I moved north. I moved over the bridge.
So so did you move again? Did you move a second time?
So I was in Keyport originally, and then I moved again.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm up in that area now, so I get to do this full time. So yeah, if you're up in, Middlesex County area, please feel free to, message me. I'd be more than happy to help. I work with reactive dogs that are fearful of things, basic obedience, anything that you may need, off leash work, recall, anything.
Awesome. So yeah, she's more qualified than I am, technically. So in either of us will service Middlesex, but I think she is further north than me. So Middlesex County, Ocean County,
Monmouth County,
Matawan, all those places in Jersey, hit us up. And if you remind me, I'll drop your Instagram in the description after we're done here. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you guys in the comments, and let some people know. I know that there's stuff here that people want to know, and they're just not seeing it. So let you guys know, people who have dogs who don't think they need a trainer, who be like, oh, check out this thing. Like, help me out. Help me out.
Exactly.
And of course, I gotta mention those support links in the description. If you pretty much no, motherfucker, the ad it's the opposite. You got the thing without even having to pay or get advertised. That's what it was. You just seen it pop in front of your face, and you got it. So I don't want to hear no complaints. But all love here. So thank you guys again. Support links. Follow me at IDRYBlutch. Follow Allie at Dog Training Tales, and we are out of here.
Bye-bye.